Yes, hello. I am James Rowlands, and today it's Wnr577. It's AEW All Out. I'm not alone. I have a pleasure to be joined by the entire WNR team. Up first by my side for every WWE and AEW show. It's a fantastic Jaxie Scarlett. How's it going, Jaxie?
Hello. Yes, all well. Very excited to get into All Out and everything that it threw at us. It's a long show, so stick in. You're in for a real ride tonight.
Yeah, well, I've got a couple of things to talk to you about before we carry on. Don't normally do this, but there's a couple of things.
Okay.
First off, you didn't join us for Heatwave, but you did win the NXT show. I don't know how you
I
did that.
knew it. I was wondering whether or not it might have tied with Monty at all or whatnot, but no, I'm really pleased. I will take that win.
And also, cast your mind back to the 30th of September 2020, if you can. It was the
Oh
WNR
God.
310 Clash of Champions, and it was your
Hmm.
very first show. So it's basically your 5 year anniversary on the WNR this week. I
Oh
cannot believe it.
wow. 5 years. Gosh,
Yep.
guys, how have you put up with me for that long?
Well, it's I'm glad to have you on board, and I'm glad, like I said,
Yep.
you're doing better than me, even though I'm an NXT expert.
I mean, time flies when you're having fun, right?
Yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt. Right, up next, our resident NXT expert and New Japan demigod and honorary House of Torture member. It is Monty. How's it going, man?
Going great. Speaking of House of Torture, speaking of House of Torture, I might as well go ahead and give me a little self promotion in for the group. Get ready for Ren the Reader to ruin everybody's main event, as he will be taking on Zack Sabre Jr. and he will be taking the IWGP Heavyweight Champion and bringing it to the House of Torture because that is what Evil and the rest of us. That's how we will it to be. We will ruin Wrestle Kingdom's main event by hook or by crook. So watch out, James. Watch out, Zach. But other than that, I'm excited to be back and happy to be talking about AEW today.
Yeah, I can't wait for destruction. Now you said that, that's gonna be fun, isn't it? But we'll get to that when we get to it. And last, but by no means least, and times have changed. Our kids are getting worse. They won't obey their parents. They just want to fart and curse. And should we blame the government or blame society or should we blame the images on TV? No, blame Canada. Blame Canada with the beady little eyes, flapping heads of full of lies. Blame Canada. Blame Canada. It's not even a real country anyway. Yes, the Terence to my Philip. It is Gina. How's it going, Gina?
Hey, hello, welcome guys. Let's do this. I'm looking forward to doing some all-out reviewing. A lot went on, as always does with AEW shows, so we got a lot to cover.
Yeah, without a doubt. What show we have with All Out? But first, we got Dynamite and Collision Roundup. We start off with Fletcher and Alexander beating Ishii and O'Reilly with Kyle, the bad one, not the good one, suffering a nasty cut on the eye. As for Tony Storm, in the main event of Collision, Tony Storm, Mina and Queen Aminata beat Billy Starks, Julia Hart, Sky Blue, with the heels stood tall at the end. The following week, Statlander, Mina Storm, and Cameron defeated Bane and the Triangle of Madness with the heels dismantling the baby faces after the match was over until Jamie Hayter showed up and drove them off. Tony wants Hayter, Statlander, and Tekla at All Out. She faced Sky Blue on Dynamite in the Philly Street Fight, which she won with Jamie Hayter making the save only to accidentally take out Storm. But Tekla again was the last woman standing on. Collision with Tony Storm looking on, eventually getting involved. Triangle Madness, Bane and Ford beat Jamie Hayter, Tay Mello, and a J. Chris Statlander, and Harley Cameron. Jaxie, it is quite a way to get into it with Tony Storm and basically wanting all challenges, it seems now.
It seems like she has quite a few strong contenders to actually really have a rightful claim to this contendership match, to the title even. So, the one thing that I will give AEW is that is given the women a lot of platform to really solidify their characters and also kind of like, how well they can do in the ring. So I definitely think there's a plethora of women on the roster that Tony really needs to keep her eye on at this point.
Yeah, and do you think they've done it well to kind of build the division up? Like we said, because we know Tony's kind of dominant, but there've been threats there, especially with Tekla, kind of impressed
Yeah.
me as well.
I mean, there's definitely, especially in the current, like, sort of past month or so, there's definitely been a lot more argument for different fans as well as like, wrestlers themselves that could argue a case for specific female wrestlers. I mean, like, even like just kind of putting Jamie Hayter into the mix herself, like, you know, knowing that she never lost it, there is like a rightful sort of like one-on-one claim that she does deserve, having never actually lost the belt but had to vacate it. But I mean, at this moment in time, we're not going to get a one-on-one match, considering, like, you know, Tony's definitely just called for all of the bitches to turn up. But, you know, when that day comes, I do think that Jamie Hayter is going to like take the world by storm. Not literally, no pun intended there, but it works out quite well. But also, I just kind of like, I think with someone like Jamie Hayter back, like, there's a lot more scope for the female wrestlers that are currently in the division to actually, because if you actually think that even though she's been off injured, you actually have a strong chance at beating someone as strong as Jamie Hayter, then you got another thing coming. So that it's definitely given even the women like maybe a bit more of a challenge to actually up themselves and better themselves in the ring to actually be able to be deemed a formidable opponent for a title run.
Yeah, I think that out. Speaking of strong champions, we've also got Hangman Adam Page and the world champion teamed with Kenny Omega and Jet Speed to take on Fletcher, Alexander, and the Bucks. We got Elite Chance and Cole pinned Knight in a fun match. Afterwards, Fletcher brainbusted Hangman through a chair and then put Kenny Omega through a table, who got stretchered out. Fletcher wanted Hangman at All Out, and of course Page accepted, but for that had to go through Josh Alexander on Dynamite, and anybody who knows Josh from Impact knows this was a good match. Of course, one with the buckshot, but Fletcher wanted the match, and of course Hangman said you can have it if he leaves a Don Callis gang in the back and wear some socks. And Monty, this is kind of what we want from a babyface champion. You know, we don't want him to go away for 30 days and not do anything. We want him to, you know, step up to any challenger that is there.
I don't know who you're shading, but I'm sure it's somebody. But anyway, yeah, definitely. I mean, Hangman is the ultimate fighting champion, ultimate babyface. That is what the energy that you want. A world beater like Hangman, because you got to think about what he's been through too already to get here. So you definitely the confidence got to be through the roof with the way he's been winning and the way he's been performing, and you know, having him be visible and be that type of champion only is helping Kyle Fletcher in this case. You know, even though we know what he's done to legitimize himself without this particular feud, but just having Hangman to play off of and having a strong babyface champion in this role is only making Fletcher's deeds and what he's willing to do to get to the top. It only makes him look better. And so, you know, I think, like you mentioned, that his Hangman has been doing a great job. And even though this may not be, as far as name goes, this is not one of those matches that you're like, oh, this is. I'm going to be excited because these guys are two of the biggest wrestlers in the world. I think you have a world champion who's done enough to build himself up to a level, and he's just by association before they even fight is already giving Fletcher a stamp because, like you said, with Hangman being who he is as champion, Fletcher challenging him and being willing to go this far to get this title shot only establishes him even more. So both guys will end up winning, in my opinion.
Yeah, without doubt. And again, it's interesting with Kenny Omega being injured. It helps kind of Fletcher look, I guess, more of a killer and gives Kenny something to do once he comes back as well.
Okay, I don't know about that one. The only reason why I say that is because Kenny Kenny is Kenny lives on the stretcher at this point. But no, I'm just playing. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Oh, poor Kenny. Yeah, Fletcher nearly killed Kenny. TBS title, Mercedes Moné defended against Alex Windsor. After Moné won, Rio returned to confront the champion. The match was made official for All Out. This led to a tag match with Windsor and Rio taking on Moné and Emi Sakura, who was Rio's mentor. The faces won, but credit to Mercedes, who's constantly changing her look as well. And Gina, I mean, it was good to see Rio back, but again, it's kind of they disappear for so long and come back and go, oh yeah, this is why we love Rio so much, you know?
Yeah, definitely. For those who didn't watch AEW from the start, may have missed Rio's run and showcase like to the American viewers and fans. But Rio has been such a great veteran, and it was great to see her come back. I was super excited. But one thing I'll say is they do this all the time, like you said. They just bring someone random back, you know, even like Nyla Rose. They'll bring Nyla Rose back on a random show to go into a match against Mercedes, and in a way, you're just like, okay, well, they're not going to win that against Mercedes, but it's really nice to see her back. And then you see her in the ring as well, and you're like, wait, why hasn't she been on the show regularly? Has she not been in town, or why is she? Because she's so good still. So is she wrestling regularly, or is it just a one-off match here? So again, it's this same question for Riho right now, because you see her, she looks just as good as ever. Is she going to be used consistently? Are we going to see her next week on Dynamite, or are we not going to see her for another, 4 weeks, 2 months, 3 months, and then she'll come back and fight whoever's TBS champ at that time too,
Yeah.
So it's nice to see her, but it will be nice to get clarity on whether she's going to be a consistent person on AEW now.
Yeah, without a doubt. I completely agree with you. As for the tag titles, Brodito defended against Wheeler and Claudio. Moxley, well, Mox in his showdown with Darby Allin has involved the Ops and Hook battling the Death Riders. Darby wrote Gabe off AEW TV by putting him in a body bag, attached to a truck, and driving off. Good old AEW. On Collision, Mox beat Danny Garcia in a good match. And on Dynamite, Matt, Nick, Mox, Claudio, and Willie Uta defeated Bandido, Kings, Mojo, Powerhouse, Hobbs, and Shibata to earn 500k. Young Bucks failed to run out with their bag for Brody King. Bandido brawled them to the back. Death Riders attacked the Ops until Darby Allin arrived, and it was Daniel Garcia attacking Darby Allin, stomping his head near a steel chair and then onto it with help from John Moxley and Marina Shafir. And then on Collision, Garcia teamed with Mox to cement his move to the dark side, beating Strong and O'Reilly and Jaxie. I mean, this was definitely a development. Do you know what I mean? And I think with Daniel Garcia, he's bounced around so much. Let's see what he can do now, hopefully in a serious position.
Yeah, I think you got that right. Like, this was like one of those things where I was like, Daniel Garcia's kind of floated around different factions, not fully joining them, but partnering with them. And it was like, where really is he going to find his footing? Because right now there's always something that's just not working, not specifically with his character, but maybe those that he's working with, where it looks like he could be joining up with them as a faction, but not really solidified that yet. I'm intrigued to see where things will go from here. The main reason being, if anyone was following sort of AEW in the early stages of Daniel Garcia joining, he really did come in with this very angry little boy personality that really made you think, like, he's going down this dark route. Like, he's super angry all the time. He's going to go down a dark route, down a heel turn. But then, like, he surprised us all with, joining the what was it, the Jericho Appreciation Society, but being one of the much more loved members on that faction. And even though it was a heel faction, a lot of people viewed him as a face. So I'm intrigued to see where this development will go from. I say intrigued, but there's also a slight worry, because I thought that this faction would actually do wonders for Utah. And I'm not saying it's not, but I'm also saying he's the main one that gets beat up a lot and doesn't seem to be progressing any more than just getting probably clotheslined by Chris Statlander, which is not a good thing. So right now I'm apprehensive as to what the Death Riders have in store with Daniel Garcia, and whether or not this can do anything to actually strengthen his character or his in-ring talent. Is only time will tell. I'm intrigued, but I'm a little bit worried, just because of like the treatment that's been given Utah so far has not really done much. So we'll see.
Elsewhere, then, Mark Briscoe defeated Lance Archer, but lost to Takeshita thanks to a recently married MJF. And MJF and Briscoe will face off at All Out. FTR and Cope and Christian just kind of brawled for a few weeks leading up to All Out. Ricochet and the Gates of Agony called out the Hurt Syndicate for a match at the pay-per-view, with Ricochet beating Shelton Benjamin on Dynamite. A couple of returns. Tommy Billington, the Dynamite Kid, lost in a tag match versus FTR. And the big comeback this month will be Eddie Kingston, because Big Bill called him out. Monty, again, Eddie Kingston's one of these guys who's been away for so long, it seems, but it's quite good to get him back on the roster at this point, considering what's happened with AEW the past couple of months due to injuries, really.
Yeah, I think it'll be refreshing in a sense. I think You can go either way with Eddie because I know Eddie. Everybody loves Eddie. And he's so popular, but people who may not know him outside of AEW before he even got there may not be familiar. But Eddie also plays a good bad guy too. So you got many different places you could go with him as a character if you want to. He was dealing with a very tough injury that had him out for a long time. So just if you want to keep him as beloved as we know he is, you can lean into that and all the rehab and all the, how he is a very good storyteller. So I can see him leaning into everything he's been through just to get back to this spot. But with AEW, they have so much talent, and I think with like you mentioned injuries, having Swerve and of course the Osprey and like Omega in and out and all the other in and out stuff that we kind of been dealing with. I think it's a great time for him to return and get a shot to reestablish himself. And whether you want to put him place him main event worthy or whether you want to keep him kind of where he was when he had all those belts. So it's really up to them. He didn't even really get injured. If I remember, I think it was like it was New Japan Strong, right? I think it was something like that where he got hurt. So he didn't even really get hurt on AEW television. So you got so many. He got like a fresh slate in a sense, almost. So it's really it'd be interesting to see how far we take this. Does he interact with Moxley again? We know they have history and with Claudio and all that. Do you do something completely different with him? But I think you have so many options that it's almost a positive either way to have him back. Just because, like we mentioned, not only we're missing bodies, but you have a lot of freedom on where we can go next with him.
Yeah, without doubt. Brian Danielson is now a full-time commentator. Cat on your face, maybe the next big hit. We don't know. And Jerry Lynn has helped the Acclaimed get back together. And Gina, I feel a bit sorry for the Acclaimed because again, it's like there's only one way. Do you know what I mean? Like they've just come back together now. It's like, all right, carry on scissoring again. I suppose we tried.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they kind of fumbled it with this one. I know that the Acclaimed were really hot in terms of their tag team run and being, the face tag champs. And I know they wanted to change it up, which is always a good thing. But I think maybe they should have just gone, heel Acclaimed fully with a heel Billy Gunn behind them and just gone with a heel run like that rather
Mm.
than split them up. This 5-minute Max Caster matches just seems like he's pissed Tony Khan off and is getting punished. And Anthony Bowens, he's lovable, don't get me wrong, but I think like they both are just more interesting together as a team, whether they're a face team or a heel team. I think, yeah, individually it's just not really going for them, maybe in the way that they might have wanted it to, but still, regardless, I don't think it worked. I think now that they've put possibly trying to get them back together now, it's like, okay, well, let's see if they're just as loved as they were before. So it's always a risk, and I don't think it paid off here.
No, without doubt. As for the international title, Okada beat Michael Oko and Takeshita beat Anthony Bowens. Set up a match all out, but it also features Mascara Dorado, who beat the Beast Mortis. And then the last thing before the pay-per-view, we've got 3 hours September to remember to get through. I mean, enjoy. Tony S for the contract signing between Adam Page and Don Callis featuring Carl Fletcher. If the family interfere, Cole loses his TNT title. Mox beat Strong. Lashley beat Toa Leona. FTR and Cope and Christian had a chat. It will be a fatal 4-way for the tag titles at All Out. Bucks beat the Bang Gang. Jet Speed beat Kip Sabian and Luchasaurus. And finally, Alexander Hechicero defeated Dante and Darius. I mean, Jaxie, again, the tag team division is something else that we're going to probably talk about it more. Seems to be developing. We've moaned about it for a while, but they are at least trying to do something here.
Yeah, I think it's taken a while, but we are slowly but surely rebuilding the tag teams that we've kind of lost that are like really legitimate tag teams, like the one that really stands out for me at the moment is Speedball. I think they really have won me over with a lot of their in-ring work and their in-ring talent. So it's taken a while to get there, but I do feel like the tag division is in a much stronger place than it was maybe this time last year, where there was like a lot of injury, a lot of back and forth on whether or not contracts were renewing, and it just seems like we're slowly but surely rebuilding that division to be as strong as what AEW once had over WWE, in my opinion. At one point, they had the stronger tag team division, you know. So they're slowly building that, and it's working again. But the key is to not lose it now, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, without a doubt. Elsewhere, Rio beat Robin Renegade. We're having a tailgate brawl with the women's division. Should be good. As for Tony, Storm appeared in the spotlight to question how long she had left. Both Jamie Hayter and Chris Statlander interrupted to make the cases to win. Tekla interrupted Storm to start her match early versus Queen Aminata, beginning a brutal brawl. The Toxic Spider sealed the win with a stomp to a steel chair. And Monty, as we spoke about tag division, the building women's division, and like I said, Tekla's the one that's kind of stood out. But with Tony talking about how long she had left, you know, maybe we didn't get the hint. You know what I'm saying? It was there.
Yeah, but I think it's a testament to just how well she's been booked. I mean, you got to think about it. She beat Mercedes and Athena just recently, so it's like, how much more unstoppable do you think Tony? You can't really book a woman in AEW if you think about the way they booking her. You can't really book anyone more dominant than they have booked Tony. So it's like, even with that being said, you're right. It was kind of like a in plain sight type of hint, but it really is also, like I said, it's just a testament to how dominant she was, because it's a fair question to ask, but it really didn't I'd make it too obvious, because again, she's still been so dominant. I feel like if Mercedes came out there and said the same phrase next week about, oh man, I might not be a champion for much longer, no one would buy it, because at this point she got so many belts, it's gonna take so much time. So it's just like, when you're so dominant, it almost don't really matter what you say in that regard. But you're 100% right. It was a little bit of foreshadowing, but I think also it played into the story. She, confidently challenged three dangerous women in her division, and then you have, like you said, not only the fact that she has been on top for so long, like eventually your time is gonna run out, and you're in a match where you didn't have to be pinned to lose. So it applied either way. It was just excellent storytelling by her, and then, like I said, it all plays back into just how dominant she is. The fact that no one, or not most people, in my opinion, probably came into this like, it's gonna be really fun, but Tony won't lose.
Yeah, without a doubt. And Dynamite ended with a proto star laying at Hangman with a brainbuster off the apron through a table, with Fletcher standing over the Cowboy with the AEW Men's World and TNT Championships. And I mean, Gina, we've seen kind of Fletcher grow. Do you know what I mean? From a kind of tag team guy to now being a possible world champion. But it could have been different as well, because the rumours that Wardlow, if he hadn't been injured, might have been in this matchup. Seems a bit weird now as well.
Yeah, I think now that we know that the matchup is with Fletcher, I don't think I could understand if it was going to go to Wardlow at this point. I think Fletcher has handled him going off well. Him going off to join Don Callis. It was always going to be, is it going to work? Is it not going to work? And in this case, it has really worked well for Kyle Fletcher. I think he's really solidified himself as an individual. Again, I only knew Kyle Fletcher mainly from the New Japan scene, being part of a tag team and being part of United Empire. So when I did see him go off to go with Don Callis and do more of a singles run, I wasn't quite sure how it was going to be. Was it going to be, WWE Ricochet mid card treatment level sort of thing? But it's not. It's really helped him progress his character and build him up to be this, main character, main event wrestler, and it is working well for him. He's hated, but he's hated in a good way, because everyone's still talking about him. Everyone's still talking about the matches he's giving, and he's giving so many great matches as well. It's not even like he's just lucked into things. So I think he's really, standing his ground. And I think regardless as to what belt he already owns or doesn't own, I think it's a good matchup to put against Hangman, because it not only helps elevate Kyle being on a point that he can be on a match level main event with someone like Hangman Page, but it also just shows that, like, Hangman Page is willing to be, like you said, that babyface champion who is willing to open up a championship match to those who prove themselves worthy for it.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. Right, so now time for All Out. September 20th on YouTube. 0 Hour is now Renee, RJ, and Brian sitting in the ring chatting. The real 0 Hour was on Collision, which had the matches, Jaxie. I mean, you
For
found this out the
fluff, man,
hard way.
I missed like what? How many matches were on Collision, aka 0 Hour? I'm sat there watching these three people in the ring, asking where the audience are. When there's, how was I supposed to know they were gonna decide to just chuck a Collision on at the same time as 0 Hour practically, and like make it make sense. AEW, make it make sense.
Oh, that's the funniest thing. That's for the zero on YouTube. Renee defends Moxley, which is nice, and Brian is a fan of Fletcher. Anyway, on to the tailgate brawl. 0 Hour pre-show began with Hobbs and Joe taking on Henry and Anthony. Hobbs was dishing out body slams left and right. Joe got the win for his team in a short but entertaining bout with a cleaner clutch. Jax, I won't ask you. I mean, Monty. The trio titles is treated like shit. Really, that's what I wanted to say. You know, I don't mind this match, but I was like, the trio titles, they just don't care.
Yeah, I mean that's my thing about what you guys are saying about the tag division. Like I see that they are trying to build more for the regular tag division, but I don't think none of it really matters to me if a chunk of the division is just thrown in nothing matches, and then we only get like two or three or maybe four at the most teams at the top who do something important. And the trio division is like even worse than that. Like like it's just the champs and then whoever we can find to throw in there to have maybe a fun match if you lucky, but most of the time it's not even gonna be that. And we damn sure not gonna give you much of an angle. You're probably gonna be involved in somebody else's angle most likely if you're a trio champ. So yeah, man. I'm not saying they should get rid of them because people hate at this point when I make the point that we got way too many belts in pro wrestling. But I feel like we'll cut out at least 30% of what your average wrestling fan who watch everything is complaining about if we had less belts. Like we would cut out a good 20%, 35% if we had less belts because you wouldn't. Not saying you wouldn't demand as much, but it's just like, what's the point of this championship? We find ourselves asking consistently because there's not much of a focus other than I mean, I guess you get multiple people on television. That's a plus of it, but other than that, it's not much importance to it at all.
Yeah, and neither of these matches, I won't score them out of 5, but we did do a predictions. The Double Up Prediction League 2025 before All Out and WrestlePalooza, the bonus league. Gina on 12, I'm on 15, Jaxie on 16, because you're on fucking NXT, Monty on 18, WWE League. I'm on 4, Jaxie Gina on 6, Monty on 8. And as for AEW, well, Monty's on 4, Gina's on 2, Jaxie's on 1. I am yet to get an AEW show this year. Will it be my time? Ooh, we'll find out. Everybody's really excited about it. We all went up, so we're all on 1. Daniel Garcia came out with Marina Shafir by his side to take on Shibata in the rubber match in their feud. This was a fun, hard-hitting fight that would have brought home on the main card if it wasn't for like the other 12 matches that we had. Garcia tapped, but Shafir had the ref distracted. But Garcia was able to get the win with a pile driver followed by a nasty stomp to the head. I mean, Gina, did you catch Collision, or were you like Jaxie watching YouTube 0 Hour?
Nope. I was like Jaxie watching YouTube and 0 Hour. I'm an idiot.
That's fine. Monty, I'll come to you then. This was a good match, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, luckily for me, I rarely watch any 0 Hour live, so it was I was able to go back, so it was cool. But yeah, no, this is fine. Good kickoff stuff. Great for Garcia. I know their history. He didn't really train Garcia, but it's still a similar type relationship that he kind of has with Garcia. So I thought this was a well done match, and I thought it served its purpose. Sometimes you just gotta go out there and especially with these long ass cards. I mean, if you wanted to add these matches to the card that we have, this is like what match 17, I mean 16, like in total we have 17, 16 matches. So to really stick out in someone's mind after that, after a long night and stuff like that, uh, I give them props because I thought they did a really good job. It was a decent match, and you got a chance to see a little bit of what maybe this new version of Garcia could look like against Shibata. But yeah, I thought this was okay.
Yeah, and there's no more dancing from Garcia, and Daddy Magic wasn't happy on commentary. This felt long, but not in a bad way. Like again, they gave the match enough time. Prediction wise, we all went Garcia, so all on 2. We then had the conglomeration, the Power Gun joined forces for this 6-man tag match against the Frat House, which was a quick sprint with Hologram getting the win for his team. Predictions non-applicable because we didn't even fucking know. But I tell you what, give us all a point anyway. Yeah.
Was a waste of time. Okay, go ahead.
It was. Well, no, it was.
Okay,
Like,
all
I'm
right,
not even
cool.
gonna like literally. I don't think I've ever covered a 0 hour as quick as this one because it was just there was no need. There was no need. And how can Renee and RJ be ringside when they are on YouTube with Brian?
When did that get filmed? Like that could have got filmed way early on during the day because there was 0 audience members in there.
They
So
were
why are you
live.
calling
They were
It was
live.
supposed to be live.
Yeah, why are you calling it 0 hour when you're not even in the same fucking venue as where the thing is taking place? It's not 0 hour then. So why are you telling us that there are pre-shows on the 0 hour when it wasn't fucking on the 0 hour? It was on Collision.
Oh God.
Just make it easier next time because I gotta tell you, I was like pissed off and confused. I never ended up going back to watch the missed Collision matches I watched. I just carried on with, I learned halfway through that the matches were happening on Collision instead and switched over. But yeah, I wouldn't chase after it now,
Don't feel bad. You only miss I'm telling you, the Garcia match is probably the only thing really worth your time. Other than that,
And
Yeah,
they'll do
because
better.
you can get into it, James. You can get into
Yeah,
it.
they'll do better on Collision next week. Do you know what I mean? Don't worry about it. You're not missing anything. Anyway, we've got Nightingale, Queen Amanata, Mina, and Harley Cameron versus Megan Bain, Penelope Ford, Sky Blue, and of course Julia Hart in a tailgate brawl. As expected, this was chaotic and disorganized, but it didn't stop it from being enjoyable. Nightingale got the win 13 with a huge powerbomb to Ford. Now, Jaxie, I know you did see this match. What were your thoughts on this?
I mean, I think that this match was good. This showcased the strength of the women's division, which I talked about recently. That there were so many really good names in here, and they had enough time to give to these women to actually really showcase a lot of their strengths. We've definitely seen that Queen Amanata can hold herself down against a lot of the women in this division, and it was really nice to actually see her be featured. We all know what Willow Nightingale can do. We all know what Mina can do, but the biggest pop came from Harley Cameron, and I really just love to see how much the audience really have just kind of warmed to her, and it is that personality that really just shines through, So we'll see what's in store for Harley Cameron going forward, but it was just really great to see from their point of view. Again, I really do love this sort of growing tag team between Penelope Ford and Megan Bain. I just wish that it didn't really feel like Penelope Ford was constantly the jobber to be the one to take the pin a lot of the time. I think that they're actually a really good, decent looking tag team duo. So let's start actually making them feel a bit more formidable as a heel group and a heel tag team when we want to kind of Tony TK is really trying to showcase Megan Bain to be unstoppable, but what you're doing is allowing her partner to be the one to stop her. So it's kind of they kind of if they're gonna go ahead and continue to cater Megan Bain this way, that then they need to make sure that they're doing the same with Penelope Ford and not just having her constantly eating the pin, because that's the constant that I'm seeing at the moment, and that does nothing to build them as a tag team when you're just constantly having Penelope taking the pin here. But yeah, overall, I think that the match itself was good. That they have the crowd behind them. The crowd were definitely just sort of cheering and booing where need be, and these are just 8 great women showing what they can do when given time in the ring. So I really hope that there's going to be a lot more in store for these women going forward when it comes to sort of title pictures and things. But I think that the right 8 women were chosen to be in this match.
Yeah. Or would you give it out of 5?
I'm I'll give it like a 4. Like it wasn't like there was a lot of storytelling in it, but I still think the wrestling was good. So I'm gonna give it 4.
Perfect. Monty, what's your score and any thoughts?
Dopey. I heard somebody refer to this match as dopey. That is my thought. I give it 3 3/4. It was fine.
3 3/4. Gina?
Yeah, I remember saying midway through this match, oh yeah, Penelope's quite a high flyer, isn't she? But like I don't get to see that showcased often enough. So for me, I feel like this was a good kind of like opportunity for these ladies to again showcase what they can really do. And I did enjoy it because they have all been involved in storylines like with each other, all having beef and get having each other's backs. So it did make sense to maybe give them this, all out match to, finish off some of this beef. So I hope going forward, the storylines between all 8 of these ladies can go elsewhere other than just amongst themselves, and just like branch out and just make it a bit more different now. But I think it was still a great match. I really enjoyed it. I'll give it a 3 3/4 too.
Yeah, I'm going to give it 3 3/4. Predictions, we went Bane, so we're all still on 3 as we start the main show, which was Cage and Cope. And they were shown walking backstage and running into some familiar faces to the fans, not to me, before they made their entrance for their grudge match against, of course, FTR. Cage spent some time taking damage due to FTR preventing him from tagging Copeland a few times. Once Cope got the hot tag, he took the fight to both members of FTR. He even did a 5-knuckle shuffle to pay John Cena back for the reference to the spear. Cage and Cope locked in simultaneous sharpshooters at one point. Cash had to slap some sense in his Dax to prevent him from tapping out. Stokely halfway pulled the referee out of the ring to prevent the pin, which brought out Beth Phoenix to take him down with a spear. While the referee was distracted, FTR used the ring bell on Copeland. He still managed to kick out. He even survived a shatter machine and was able to get the win with the spear, with Cage holding Harwood back. Nick Wayne then came out to provide a distraction to FTR and Sabian could attack Cope and Cage. Copeland was cuffed to the ring ropes and FTR hit a spike pile driver to Cage. And rather than trying to run from FTR, Beth gave her husband a kiss before going after both men. They ended up pile driving her as Cope looked on helplessly. Talk about a bad start, eh? Anyway, Monty, there was a lot going on to start the show, but how good was it to see Beth Phoenix? I know I don't want to take the shine off, but when you just see Beth, I was like, oh, that takes me back.
Yeah, I mean it's awesome. I mean it was always cool to see Beth, man. She's actually it's kind of funny to hear a lot of the love and not saying AJ don't deserve it, but it's like Beth is right at that same some people may not remember, but like Beth is right there in an era where it wasn't much women's wrestling or much value in it in WWE. Beth was a trailblazer doing a lot of stuff that they didn't want her to do in the same way that AJ kind of later came and did too. So yeah, it's also to see her from that reason, and of course with her relationship to Adam and all of that, it all played perfectly. A lot of theatrics here, and I think it all hit the right bone if you knew what, like you said, if you knew anything about it all. But I do think it was a little too much. Like that's probably the only thing I would say. I mean, the match itself was great. I thought if CNC gonna be back together, they don't necessarily need to win. They can win them. I don't care, but they don't need to win the tag titles. They don't really need to anchor a division at this age. But if you're gonna put them back together and just allow them to do a lot of that and just have fun and tell a really good story and get in there with great teams like FTR and tear it up for old time's sake, in a sense, but at the same time still advancing where they currently are in their careers. I think you can't ask for much more from a wrestling standpoint. I thought them and FTR did really great in that regard. But I did think it was a little bit much. I'm just like, it wasn't. I was surprised that it felt didn't that it wasn't as long as I thought it was going. Like it was like this is really only about 20 minutes. I think all together, everything that we saw. But if you just think about everything you just said took place and all the run-ins and all of that, they really tried to find a way to pack in a lot into one big old segment. But I do think for the most part everything was still done well, and everything was mostly enjoyable, and it does continue, the angle on basically with Nick Wayne in the crew. So you do get a lot of stuff continuous in this, and like you still tell a good story. But I was mostly into the match and mostly just like I said, it was for old time's sake and getting all the nice fun spots. Not even just like you said, not only the edge referencing Cena, but just the feel good tag team spot to just like bring you back to like an old school type, more old school feel to tag team wrestling. I think that's something they can lean on for however long they're gonna be back together and tag together. So overall, man, this was a really enjoyable start, especially from a wrestling standpoint. I could have done without all the extraness, like with one of like just Beth, sure, yay. But then throw it in this, and then Beth get attacked, and then the handcuff. And I was like, all right, man, you throwing a lot at me. But to be fair, you got all of us. We watch AEW to know that, they love throwing a lot at you. It is a reason why people are nicknaming Tony the Snowman, and it's a reason because of that. Because sometimes the show even kind of reflects that, if you know what I'm referencing. So yeah, that's what I'll say. But this was good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying anything was wrong. I just thought, well, they are really throwing a lot for a first match of a show type of deal. But this is what AEW does.
Yeah. Well, no, I accuse NXT of kind of having 4 weeks of segment in just one show, and
Right.
this felt like this is 4 weeks of TV
Adderall,
you've just
man.
put in 25 minutes, man. And I did think it was a bit long and slow at times during the match, but like I said, they heated up. But I mean, Gina, this was interesting. It's been 21 years since Cope and Cage teamed up in Toronto, but I think the most surprising thing was the John Cena chant in AEW as well. It just shows the respect that he's got. I wouldn't have had that on my bingo card.
Yeah, to be honest, when I loved seeing Edge do the shout out back for John, that was really nice for me. I am one of those wrestling fans that likes call outs like that, and seeing comradeship like being shown through it. I thought it was a nice touch of John to do. So seeing Adam Copeland do it back for John was great. And so for me, when I did hear the John Cena chants, I actually thought that was nice. I thought that was the AEW fans also paying respect to John. So yeah, for me, I don't think that was a bad thing. It's not like they were chanting WWE, they were chanting John, and again, that's kind of just respect from fans and wrestlers alike, just to each other. So I thought that was a nice touch.
Yeah, no, it was good. And again, I mean, Jaxie, we kind of basically covered it all, but all I want is Beth versus Megan, please. Like, if we can book that match, I'll be quite happy.
Yes. Oh yes, please give me the Glamazon versus what does Megan Bain
The
call herself?
Megasus.
The Megasus. I want that. Take my money. So one day, hopefully, we'll get it. But I do think you guys had some really great points. There was such a harsh moment watching Beth eat that pile driver, but this is also something that I know someone like Beth could handle. And she she played her part well in it. And if people really wanted to be invested in this match, well, they certainly are now with Beth involved, because again, she has done a lot for the division, just in terms of even creating, a form of respect and equality towards, women versus men in matches. So the fact that she was involved in this sort of way, just the younger little girl in me was always fangirling over hearing her music drop and just seeing her come out. But I definitely need Megan Bain versus Beth at some point, even if it is just a one-off and Beth is not really coming back to full-time wrestling. Just give us that one match, I'll be pleased.
Yeah. That's all we want. Right, so scores out of 5 then. Monty, what would you give it?
4.25. I thought it was really good. Also, watch Trailer Park Boys and you'll understand who Bubbles or who those guys were. Trailer Park Boys is hilarious, and the Canadians love it. So yeah.
Good for them. Gina, what would you give it?
Yeah, I'll give it a 4.25 too. I will admit I did think the Beth Phoenix stuff was over dramatic at the end. The thing is, don't get me wrong, I love a strong boss ass woman protecting her man. That's something I admire, and I love Beth for it. But the whole kiss at the end, it was like she was about to take a bullet, for him. So I thought it was a bit dramatic, but I still enjoyed the match, and I did enjoy seeing Nick Wayne come back to continue his beef with Christian, because that didn't get its ending, especially with Nick Wayne having his injury. So it is nice to see that they're wanting to tie up Christian's loose ends now that they finished Adam finishing up his loose ends with FTR, you know? So I do like the consistency. I just hope that the storylines still pan out in the best ways in the future. So yeah, I think a 4.25 is fair.
Yeah. Jaxie?
Yeah, I'll give this a 4.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 4 as well. Predictions, we all went for Cope and Cage, so all on 4. Big Bill was out to take on Eddie Kingston. What was his first match in over a year? Kingston's, that is. The Toronto crowd gave the Mad King a warm welcome before he came to the ring. Most of the match was dominated by the 7-foot monster. Brian Keith cheered him on as he kept finding ways to stall Eddie's momentum and beat him to the canvas. Kingston hit one of his signature back fists, but Big Bill got right back up and mocked him like it was nothing. The second one, he put Bill down for the count. I mean, he barely connected, and even the announcers acknowledged that he looked like he missed, but still, didn't matter. Keith and Bill attacked Kingston until Hook came out to make the save, ending with Hook and Eddie as maybe a potential alliance was an interesting way to go. Gina, what were your thoughts on this?
Sorry, which one?
Eddie v Big Bill. Big Bill.
Oh yeah, no, this one was great for me. I was excited to see Eddie's return. You know, I was just waiting for it, and he just came out as his usual self, like nothing had changed, and I loved that. I didn't want to see anything change with Eddie Kingston. He is who he truly is, you know. And we all love him for it. I thought the match was great because Big Bill's a big guy, so he was able to kind of, you know, put Eddie over and showing that like Eddie can still take someone as big as him out, you know. And I still think it was I think it was a good first match. I think it was quite quick, but I don't think it needed to necessarily go on for too long anyway. So yeah, I didn't hate this match. I liked seeing Eddie back, and I can't wait to see what he's going to be involved with going forward.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if it's with Hook or not. I mean, Jaxie, 497 days out, and he did miss a back fist, but he has been out for 497 days. So
Yeah,
I'll give him that.
you know, it was a very unfortunate moment for the cameraman to be right there, because if any other angle, and you might have been able to get away with saying like it connected, but like it was a very obvious disconnect. And I think that was the way that it was meant to end. But do you know what? If I was Eddie, I'm picking Big Bill up again, and I'm doing that again before I actually pin him. I'm not just gonna go, oh fuck it, do you know what? Done. You know, but again, this could be ring rust, down to ring rust. You know, as you just mentioned, Eddie had been off for a very long time, but it doesn't take away from like, clearly like Eddie is the type of wrestler that I would call the people's champ, because he doesn't change who he is. He is who he is. He doesn't put on any other character apart from being Eddie. And I think like that unhingy type of personality that Eddie does come across as having works well, not in the sense of not capitalizing off of a hit, but it just works well for his chaoticness or messiness of the way that he is within the ring. I must admit, like the most intrigue for me came at the end of the match, once like the botched ending happened, because again, just like you just sort of mentioned, I was not expecting Hook to come out for this save here, but there does seem like there's some sort of maybe potential alliance that would come from them. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not slandering Joe. I love Joe, but I just felt like there was some sort of disconnect with Hook and Joe being connected, or like, you know, potentially taken on. But someone as like sort of angry and unhinged as Eddie, I just feel would work really well with Hook. It's the relationship that I didn't realize that I needed, you know. And now, since seeing them both in the same ring together, I'm even more intrigued to see what they could do paired up together. So I think this is a good thing for Hook. I don't think like, I think that when he was paired with Joe, it almost kind of like came across, it felt like rather than Joe teaching him potentially much, Joe would just maybe save Hook more. With Eddie comes like this like uncertainty of Eddie being like, nah, you're on your own, you got this, bruv, I'm watching you, you can do this, you know. Like he might give Hook the tough loving that Hook needs to really start making a stamper for himself within a singles run eventually. But I do think that this is a really good choice of team up. I could see it working. So I'm definitely more intrigued to see where a potential team up could be with them.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Like I said, interesting times ahead. I mean, Monty, I mean, the match, like I said, was very, very short. But I just want to, give a shout out to Big Bill because it's probably the furthest he's going to get in AEW unless, like, I don't know, instant crowd support or something like that, even though the fans do quite like him.
It's funny you want to give a shout out to him while I'm probably about to shit on him. I don't.
Oh,
I
poor
don't
Big Bill.
really. Yeah, yeah. Shout out to Bill before I shit on you. Anyway, what I will say is that I think you guys probably nailed it as far as like the rest goes. But I think acknowledging that kind of made the match worse for me is because it's just like, all right, 400 some days, he hasn't been back. And then you put Eddie in the ring, a rusty Eddie or Eddie who hasn't been here in the ring with a guy like Big Bill, who at his best is limited. And that's what I'll say. I'm not going to bury him and say he's not good. He has a skill set and I think it's a very limited skill set, and I just don't know if him and Eddie. I don't know what type of match you could actually get out of Eddie because you could just watch the match. You could see Eddie was trying to sell, trying to put over the fact that Bill is a threat or whatever, but neither guy could really mechanically execute as well as I'm sure they wanted to. Whether it's due to Eddie being rusty or whether it's just like whatever it was, just not having the best chemistry with each other at the moment. It could have been a plethora of reasons, but it just didn't fit. It just didn't hit right. And of course, not even with the finish to me, it just felt clunky other than the initial start. And I think the start was helped by the fact that we haven't seen Eddie and we all wanted to see him and we were all excited. I just think that maybe they could have chose a different opponent. I'm not really sure who would have fit off the top of my head, but I just don't know if Bill was the right one for him to be fighting on his first match back. Like I said, most likely going to be rusty with that long ring time away, and then you're going against a guy who you don't really have a lot of options when it comes to making the match more compelling. But again, I'm excited to see Eddie back, and I think at the end of the day, overall, this was just a showcase trying to welcome Eddie back into the fold, and I think we're all happy to have him back. As far as his working with Hook goes, I'm a reserve judgment because I think both guys are better off alone, and I like their characters better when they're not bogged down. But I know how AEW works. You kind of, no matter how alone you want a character is, they always gotta have somebody who's gonna have their back because everybody else is in some type of faction, in some type of team of some sort. So I think if they just have each other's back, I'm in more support of it than I am of them actually teaming and trying to make this a faction. I like both of their characters better, in my opinion, when they're being stubborn and when they're trying to just be like, no, I got this. And I think Hook would benefit even more because of the Joe Association. Hook benefits more, in my opinion, of kind of doing more things on his own because he's always been, whether it was Team Taz, whether it's Joe, whatever it is, Hook has always been following somebody around. In my opinion, he's in desperate need of an identity outside of that. So Eddie could help and have his back if he gets jumped, that they can have each other's back. But I would prefer it if they both kind of still did
That's
their
what I
own thing away
That's
from each
kind
other.
of why I thought that this was a good pairing, though, Monty, because both of them are very much lone wolves, and I could see Eddie being sort of the type of guy to be like, okay, no, you got this, you can handle this. Like I'm a wait and see what you can do, and only at the last minute will I come in and like help out. Like I don't see him like being as maybe like that immediate jump on effect like what Joe probably would. I believe that Eddie might give him a bit of that tough loving to
I
survive
get
as a
that,
lone
but
wolf.
I get that, but then that's gonna be up to the booking, in my
Yeah,
opinion,
yeah, it
because
really will.
you
So
can't constantly have Hook be in a situation where Eddie gotta help him because that's the same thing we already seen before. You can't
yeah,
have
yeah.
vice versa. Like if you're gonna actually, they can talk to each other, they can team up when they need to, but
Mm,
in my opinion, the association should be just that. It don't need to be
yeah.
us knowing
It,
them for
it,
hanging out.
it's kind
In
of
my
like
opinion.
I don't know why, but I see it like that thing where like a second guy comes out to like jump on the bandwagon with Hook, and Eddie being sat there on commentary being like, no, he got this, he got this. It's only two of them, it's fine, it's fine. And then he's only getting involved when a third guy comes out or something like that.
Yeah.
But again, this really does come down to the booking and whether or not they will like maybe leave Eddie to like do what he thinks is best, and like the type of like sort of teacher or leader in that sense, when I think about Eddie, is tough love. Like that's what I think of when I think of Eddie Kingston, and I think that Eddie may teach a bit of like, you know, tough love to Hook, to be like, don't just rely on someone, like you know, take your own if you need it, just like I've done, you know. But again, this really does come down to whether or not TK is really in the main creative booking for Eddie, or if they actually just leave Eddie and Hook to do their own thing, maybe. So only time will tell at this point. But the one thing that I do think that Hook will benefit from with teaming with Eddie right now is Eddie is great on mic, and that is because he's natural. And I think that Hook needs a lot more mic work. And maybe working with someone like Eddie, who just comes across as quite natural on the mic without actually having lines fed to him, like, could work. But yeah, time will tell still.
Agreed.
Right. So you have scores out of 5 then. Gina, what would you give it?
3.5.
3.5. Jaxie?
Yeah, it would have been rated higher if it wasn't for the botch ending. So I'll give it 3.5 because I'm still relieved to see Eddie come back and like the pop he got. Let's just hope that this is just sort of like just ring rust.
And Monty?
I'll give it a 3.
Give it 3. I'm going to give it 3.5. Predictions all went Eddie, so all on 5. I did put Big Bill for some strange reason, but I did change before I saw anything. So I just want to put my hands up there. I don't know why Big Bill was in my head for. Up next, MJF versus Mark Briscoe in a tables and tacks match. The ring had a bucket of tacks in each corner and several tables surrounding it. The Chicken immediately pulled a ton of tacks into the ring before he and MJF even made contact. MJF tried to leave, but Briscoe brought him back to the ring. Both men tried to slam each other onto the tacks, but it kept counting to avoid it. MJF used the ref as a shield to sucker Briscoe in so he could slam him for the first time. He drove Mark's head into some tacks to have some extra punishment and caused the first blood to spill. MJF forced a bunch of tacks into Briscoe's mouth and then decked him in the face, as you would. When MJF was finally dropped on the tacks with a back body drop, the crowd and Danielson cheered. MJF started looking desperate after a tombstone onto a tack-covered chair didn't put the Chicken away. Briscoe put MJF through a table with a froggy bow, and then he hit a second, and he finally finished him off with a J Driller for the pin and the win. Jaxie, what were your thoughts on this match?
Okay, firstly, just because I didn't say it before when you mentioned it, I'm really pleased with actually having Bryan Danielson on full-time commentary. I think he adds something really refreshing and new to the commentary team. But also at the same time, he's just so fun to listen to. He really knows his history about each of the wrestlers, but also about wrestling in general. So he just gives a really fresh take on like his outlook of how the match is going, and he's like playing a neutral figure where he's like, you know, not only like still bad mouthing like the heels and like, you know, their tactics, but also just like pointing out like the move set and like the thoughts that go behind each move set and things like that. So really enjoying Bryan Danielson's take on it, and I find that I'm listening to commentary a lot more because I value his opinion. So it was this was like a sort of great way to showcase him onto the team, like the commentary team, so to speak, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But sorry, which match I went off on
MJF and Briscoe.
Right. Okay. Yeah. This match. Okay. First of all, this match was really hard. I had to keep looking away at certain moments because everything they were doing with the text was like, this was getting very much too Saw-like for me. And like, I love my horror movies, yeah, but there's a difference between horror and like just torture, you know. And this was just like these two, John Moxley. I'm sure Darby Allin, like there are daredevils in wrestling that really just like will push the boundaries, and I'm all up for that, but it's so much harder to watch. Like when he put the tacks in like Mark Briscoe's mouth, I was just thinking he's like not got that many teeth left already. Like don't hurt his mouth much more. it was really hard to watch certain moments. But this has got to be the one time, James, that you'll ever hear me say this. But like, I have never been so disappointed at MJF fucking letting me down in this match. Honestly, I obviously went with MJF for the win here. However, I do believe that given the storyline, Mark Briscoe did deserve to win for sure. But I just kind of presumed or thought that, like, you know, MJF would use his usual tactics, his usual ways to get out of it. So there was a certain level of frustration in me because I'm like, what are you doing with MJF at the moment now then? Because like he's been taking loss after loss after loss, and I don't really know where he goes from here either. That being said, is also like kind of like, what are you doing with Mark Briscoe then as well? Because you've been showcasing him a lot. He's a main feature, he's a main draw. Are you putting him in a mainline title picture eventually? Or are you gonna have him constantly feuding with different individuals at a mid-card level? So there was like a bit of confusion that really kind of came out of this match in terms of where TK's vision is for both of these wrestlers going forward, because I don't really know what state you leave them in for this. You know, you got like MJF taking sort of like a faction loss by being kicked out and booted from the Hurt Syndicate, just constantly like, you know, flubbing his chance at Hangman, now not even being able to pick up a win with Mark Briscoe. I'm not sure if there's like sort of end game storyline telling here with MJF, but it's like I don't know what they also expect to like come from his character at this point. So I felt a little bit lost with the outcome of this match, but this match went hard. It was just a little bit too gory for me to fully say I enjoyed it.
Well, you either love this type of match or you hate it, you know. And
yeah, I mean, like, you know, give me tables, even with a bit of barbed wire on every now and again. I'll get over it. But like pin tacks, like maybe I draw the line at pin tacks, because like watching this sort of match was not what I would call like a form of entertainment. It just feels like a more form of torture and punishment for both wrestlers in the ring and for audience members having to watch. Like, I don't really want to see like tacks sticking out, like a whole, like a good like 15-20 tacks sticking out of MJF's back throughout the whole match, because that's the only thing I'm focusing on. Then I'm not focusing on any of the wrestling. But you know, that's a personal opinion on me. But I'm just not a big fan of tacks in a match.
Well, it is AEW, you know. But again, you brought up a lot of great points there. Monty, we talk about MJF. He did have 2 big losses in 2 days, but I mean, to be fair, he did get married and not have his honeymoon yet, you know. So again, there's, I suppose, stuff to do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of happy with it though, because I think it just doesn't happen commonly with Max losing and a babyface prevailing in this story is the right move. You can't say hi, Edie. I know you want to say hi, but you can't. Anyway, like I was saying, you know, a babyface winning this story is the right answer at the end of the day. So it's kind of hard. Sorry about that. Anyway, I do at the end of the day think that that's the right way to go, and I'm happy that they went with it. And this match was just badass. Like, I agree. Like, if you like this style, you're gonna love it. If you don't, I don't think you will like this. But I thought it was one of the best matches to do it because of the story and how personal MJF made this. You could tell they really wanted to hurt each other. So I love this. I thought this worked out, even if I did go against my pick.
Yeah, no doubt. But again, as we mentioned, I mean, Gina, could this be a start of a magic run for Mark Briscoe? We talk about like Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay not being there. Brian Danielson, you know, not around anymore. Is he, you know, ready to kind of fill that void? Because we haven't got a lot of faces, really, when you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, Hangman's been pretty much the main like face and front runner for all of this. So you would think, especially with, you know, Adam Cole going off as well, you know, some big players are really just dropping off the scene at the moment. So with the run that Mark Briscoe has had with this match, definitely 100%. I think he looks really good in position to be able to take a championship, you know. So for me, I think that works out best. And if they don't, then it kind of makes this whole run team a bit redundant. But I think Mark Briscoe's looking hot right now, so you may as well push on that and play on that.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. Right. So out of 5, then Jaxie, what would you give it?
I'll give this a 3 3/4.
3 3/4, Monty.
4.5.
4.5, Gina.
I'll give it a 4.
I'm going to give it a 4.25 predictions. We all went MGF. They're all on 5 still. But I will say, yeah, Monty did mention to us that Mark Briscoe probably is going to win. But again, MGF doesn't really lose on pay-per-view, does he? So that's why. Anyway, the Hurt Syndicate versus the Demand was next, which caused Ricochet in the Gates of Agony. MVP started for his team, but he wanted Ricochet instead of Khan. Ricochet obliged for a moment and then tagged out before anything could actually happen. Khan MVP grappled and traded some shots before Benjamin tagged in. After Lashley got in, Ricochet came and mocked him. He tried to unload on him with some body shots that appeared to have no effect. The Almighty held him up for a vertical suplex for a long time. Syndicate had the upper hand until the Demand cornered MVP and kept him isolated for a while. Worked on his bad leg. Benjamin got the tag. He started suplexing, throwing 3 opponents around, and sometimes 2 at the same time. But Ricochet ended up getting the win for his team by pinning MVP in a somewhat surprising outcome. Monty, what were your thoughts on this?
I thought this was solid. I was very shocked. I think at this point, I pick against Gates of Agony off the street because they lost so many times. I thought when they needed this push, but I'm happy they finally getting it. And him pinning MVP doesn't really hurt the Hurt Syndicate as much as you would assume. And I thought the match itself though was solid. It wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. Again, it was still kind of like you said, still kind of shocking because we look at the Hurt Syndicate and we just picture them as dominant, and we know what they can do. So it was definitely shocking, but I do think this is an attempt to finally give Gates of Agony a push, of course, led by Ricochet, and give this new trio, a little launching pad forward to kind of set them up as future prominent heels. But I do think the Hurt Syndicate will be getting revenge.
Yeah, imagine if there was a trio titles that they could maybe have, but hey, maybe I'm
Of course,
dreaming.
right?
Yeah. But again, Gina, this was nice, nice surprise. But again, it made me think, like, have we seen Ricochet and Bobby Lashley before? Because the interaction between the two is like, I wouldn't mind seeing a singles match, even though we probably have. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Definitely have.
yeah.
Bobby used to kill him in WWE, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this was like a definite case of like he got squashed. Like Ricochet got squashed every time.
Yeah, for sure. But again, in this match, Ricochet showed that he could possibly hold his own against him, and will we get that opportunity? Will they continue this beef between Gates of Agony and Ricochet and the Hurt Syndicate? Again, this really did surprise me, although I feel like I shouldn't have been surprised. No offense to MVP because he still looked all right, but I should have known with him being the third guy in this match, out of all 6 of them, he is probably going to be the weakest link. So I should have thought if anyone's going to eat a pin, it more than likely is going to be him. But like Monty said, with the way that like Gates of Agony are usually showcased, they're usually ones eating pins. So it was easy to go with the Hurt Syndicate here, especially because of them losing their tag belts recently. Again, I know it wasn't them to officially lose it and eat a pin, but still you just thought that they would get sort of the win and the up here, and they didn't go that way. Storyline wise, I think it makes sense that they've gone with Ricochet and Gates of Agony for the win. I do think they should push them all as trios and a tag team and an individual for Ricochet. I do think they all deserve pushing. Ricochet's doing some of his best work at the moment, and I'm all here for it. I love it. I love his pettiness. And in a way, I feel like if I was a male wrestler, that would be me. So yeah, I quite like it. So even though I'm gutted I didn't get the point here, I actually still think it was good to give them the win here.
Yeah. Well, especially when I believe rumors like, Hurt Business don't want to lose to anybody and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? I'm not expecting them to lose here, but like I said, maybe with MVP, we should have known. But he didn't look too bad, as you mentioned. So we get out of 5. So Monty, what would you give it?
I'll give it 3.5.
3.5. Gina?
I'll give it a 4.
And Jaxie, has got anything to add as well?
I'll give it a 3 3/4. I think that you guys like pretty much pointed out like the best sort of bits about it. I would actually like to see Ricochet and Gates of Agony get a push in the trios division. Whether or not that also sees them take championship gold, I don't know. But right now, the trios division definitely need more trios. So AEW are doing well so far to even build that back up. So we'll see how things go. But yeah, I think the one thing that I would say is a highlight was Bobby Lashley keeping what's his name in the air for so long. I was like, the amount of strength that you need to have to be able to keep that person like airborne like that, it's just incredible. Another show of how great Bobby Lashley is in the ring when you actually let him let loose. So
What did you score it? Sorry, I didn't write it down.
a 3 3/4.
3 3/4. I'm going to give it a 4. Predictions: we all went Hurt Syndicate, so we're still on 5 with the TBS title on the line. When Rio challenged Monet in the next matchup, they traded some roll-ups and attempted submissions right from the start, but neither woman could gain the clear advantage. The crowd chanted for both women as Monet grabbed the bottom rope to escape a half crab. Mercedes was putting Rio through a lot of punishment. The CEO managed to retain the title after raking the eyes and then hitting a finisher for the win. Gina, what were your thoughts on this match?
I mean, yeah, I definitely enjoyed it and thought it was a good match. Rio still just looks as good as ever, like I said earlier, but I didn't believe that she was going to get the win. There were quite a few near falls that she could have, but I didn't think she was going to get the win over Mercedes. I think if she had come back maybe a few weeks prior and they had built this up a bit longer, then I could have actually thought, shit, Monet might actually lose the belt here to Riho. But again, because they don't show her consistently, I don't think they're going to be looking to give the belt to someone who's not on the show week in and week out, whereas Mercedes is on every show every week, So yeah, I didn't think there was going to be much like of a change up here, but again, it was always great to see Riho. I thought the match went really great. Both women, just helped put each other over. They both looked like they were really enjoying the battle that they were having against each other, and I enjoyed it for sure.
Yeah, I mean the only thing is, again we talk about the entrances, and of course there was men with belts for Monet's entrance. I was disappointed they wore trousers. I don't think there's any need for it. Maybe next time.
Yeah, there's always next time. She's still got all of those belts, so
Yeah.
Trial and error. Next time will be better.
Yeah, exactly. But the question, Jaxie, the question is who can beat Mercedes Monet? We spoke about Rio's there. Hopefully she doesn't disappear again. But who's next for her? Or is it maybe someone that's already there?
I mean, to be honest, like I was trying to think of this myself, especially with someone as sort of like a well-known veteran like Riho. I when the match ended, I did wonder to myself, could we get a returning Shida come back and see whether or not Shida could try her luck at Mercedes Moné? And that is a match that I would totally pay a lot to see. As a lot of people who follow our podcast know, I'm a huge fan of Hikaru Shida. And right now, I don't understand why she's not being utilized or used. I'm not sure if she's still injured, currently injured, or what. But I wouldn't mind, like, I think watching the match with Mercedes versus Riho really made me question, actually, where's Shida? Because this would be a good one-on-one match too. So who knows? We might see a returning Shida come and stake her claim in the TBS championship. You never know. It was really nice to see though. I felt like Riho really, like, Mercedes came into this match with this sort of arrogance in her wrestling at the very beginning of the match, that she had Riho in the bag already or something. So what I did like about this match is like the challenge that Riho like really gave to Mercedes, and you can just kind of tell like by the end of it, like Mercedes was just relieved to get through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also was like, what does this mean for Riho then? Because she's only just returned and she's already losing like a championship match. Where do we see her go from here? So I hope she's just not forgotten about again. I think my sister just like mentioned that, of like bringing back returning wrestlers, but then like they're not constantly showcased. So it's like, let's not do that with Riho. Let's not drop the ball. Let's do something with her. So who knows? There may be some exciting times coming up towards the with the women's division that might actually give her more opportunity in other divisions other than the TBS title. So we'll see.
Yeah, and again, you know, like I said, we've been doing this a while. And Monty, when Monet first got to AEW, kind of wasn't right, and now after her 21st defense, I think she settled in quite well. You know, like we said, the question is who is next, and better credit to her again, building to her legacy.
Yeah, I think she did a good job, like you said, of settling in and kind of finding her niche in AEW. My only complaint would be is that have the AEW kind of gotten a little too formulaic with it because like beside her best matches to me have been the Chris Statlander stuff and of course the Tony Storm stuff. And I just think a lot of that stuff benefited. And of course her match with Athena was good too. But I think those matches benefited because of the narrative that we had along with it, not just the championship match narrative. So I think these matches, I think Mercedes in general will benefit if we could establish more of a story along with these title matches. I think this one in particular with Riho could have been even better, but the build leading up to it was about Alex Winsome to me more so than it was Rio, even though we know she was there. And all people like you mentioned earlier who've been watching from the beginning, no, Rio's a threat, but like you don't even know if she's gonna be here next week. So it's like, all right, how much of this can I really buy? And that's the only thing I think that could make Mercedes even like run even more impressive is if we could get that overall investment. Because other than just watching her showcase, to me, I knew Mercedes was one of the best women's wrestlers I ever seen like 10 years ago. So this don't like watching her go out there and work wrestle different styles and work. It is expanding her legacy, and hopefully she'll finally start getting that credit that most of us know she's been deserving because of this run. But I do think this run could be even better if we had like let's say I'm not saying it has to be as dramatic as Tony Storm or Mariah May, but there's a reason why Tony Storm and Mariah May was so hot. It's because of the narrative. It wasn't just because one was a champion and one was challenging or just betrayal. Like we haven't really scratched the surface, in my opinion, of how good the Mercedes run can be. But I do think with what they've been doing, she's done a really good job. And I thought this match was also good, even though to me it could have been even better.
Yeah, without a doubt. All right, so out of 5 then, Gina, what would you give it?
I'm good. I'm gonna give it a 4 again.
Give it a 4. Jaxie?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll give it a 4.
Monty?
I give it a 4 too.
Give it a 4 too. Yeah, I'm going to give it a 4 as well. Predictions, all Monet, all on 6. Before we get to the next match, there's some comments as well. Lonnie McHenry, Hulk Monet, as you know, I mean, you can say that, that's fine, but hopefully they're building to a story where someone can, like I said, knock her off her perch. And also, Kassler has said Christian is having a terrific run in AEW. As we mentioned, I think that's why the coat thing is working so well. So, but thanks for your comments anyway. We'll move on to Kazuchika Okada versus Takeshita versus Mascara Dorado. The match got started with all 3 men going after each other right away. Takeshita was sent out of the ring, so Dorado and Okada traded moves for a bit. Once Big Take was back in, Okada took a breather at ringside. Even though both men are members of the Don Callis family, it rarely felt that they were doing anything to help each other. It was pure competition, and it made for a more exciting match. It did take a bit of a while for Takeshita and Okada had a long sequence together, but once they did, man, was it worth it, and the crowd was loving it. All 3 men came close to winning a few times, for it finally ended with Okada hitting a Rainmaker on Dorado for the pin and the win. Jaxie, what were your thoughts on this?
Okay. This was one of the best matches on the card. Like this had like this ticked so many... No, but this ticked so many boxes, right? It ticked so many boxes because it was telling a story. It was building things up to anything like further than what like past this trios match. Like there was an underlying like story at play here. It was a trios match, but it really was like a build up to what everyone wants, which is Takeshita versus Okada 1-on-1. And I think that they played so much into that factor, you know, like even though like the third, oh god, I always forget the third. What was his name? I always pronounced it wrong.
Dorada.
Yeah. I always go to say El Dorado. I don't know why. I think it's El Desperado from New Japan that I end up like merging it with. But like even though like I still feel like he was such a key character in and wrestler within this trios match, the underlying story was every time it ended up going to 1-on-1 with Takeshita and Okada, that it just like it was almost like the air shifted, like the audience were more focused, like they were all building up to, oh my god, here we go, 1-on-1, just those two, you know. And that is ultimately what they've got to be building up towards that. But I just felt like all three men worked so well together. There were certain moments where the spots were just executed perfectly throughout the match. And I mean, if anything, this match just left me itching for 1-on-1 match between Takeshita and Okada. So I thought it was a really good match overall, and I feel like if you go back and watch it, you probably would notice different things like also happening out the ring if you rewatch it back. So is a good match.
I feel sorry for Gina every time an Okada match is there because I know exactly.
No, honestly, because again, this actually took place. This All Out took place whilst my partner was away on holiday, so I had the place to myself. So yeah, you can imagine the scream was wild the moment I heard that coin drop.
Another point I can understand, Monty. I can understand your kind of Okada point now, because it's weird after the G1 to see Takeshita kind of in the middle of the card match. Do you know what I mean? Like, I seems like a main event, and it's like, oh no, it's like mid card at this moment in time, even though it is the international title.
Yeah, it's two completely different
Whatever they
worlds of
call
the
it.
fit.
Sorry.
Yeah, the international unified continental.
Unified.
Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, it's a different world in the sense. But this was excellent. I think the 1-on-1 match is obviously gonna be on like incredible, not only because of them two, but the anticipation. They've done a really good job of building the anticipation. Even though these people forget they have fought before in AEW, but I think this version of Okada and where we get with Takeshita, this version of Takeshita, because fresh off a G1 win, I think that kind of adds to the excitement and like the. But I do think inevitably it probably will be. I don't know if it will happen, but that probably will be the right move to let Takeshita dethrone Okada if that is the vision that we're going with. But we'll have to wait on that and see. I thought Dorada did excellent. Mascara Dorada was did a good job of showcasing. I think oftentimes when you're a guy in this position, you know people assume what's gonna happen to you, and even if it does happen to you, and you get pinned. Your goal, in my opinion, is to not be a letdown and to play off the other guys as well as you did. And even though the energy picked up whenever Takeshita and Okada was left 1-on-1, I did not feel like Dorado was in the way, and I didn't feel like he didn't. He took away anything from a wrestling. If anything, he added an element that both of these guys, because Okada's not high flying at all. The best you're getting out of my boy is a drop kick. So he added that, and then Takeshita, being who he is, physical, and also, being more of a powerhouse. Like you got three different incredible versions of wrestling in this one match, and they all meld together to make a really good contest. I love three ways, so I'm kind of biased, and I try my best to be like, oh damn, I don't want to be so biased that I give it automatically 5 stars. But this is one of the best triple threat matches you can ask for. The only criticism I really got of it is stakes. It's like, even though it was a title match, it'd be different if we thought Dorada had a realistic chance of walking away with those belts. But I will say though that this match, I do think he did a good job of still playing well enough. I mean, I said playing, but fighting well enough. I'm literally watching American football while I'm talking. Sorry, guys. But anyway, but But yeah, he literally Dorado really did fight well enough to at least entertain him winning, even though we knew it was probably gonna go to Okada or Takeshita most likely. But this was really good. Okada winning and the way he did too was good. And also, James, back to my other Okada point, I felt like although I felt like this is one of those times. Again, this is kind of like I'm saying. I really feel like Okada is taking advice from Shinsuke, but he's in AEW, so he still has to work harder than maybe even Shinsuke has to with the WWE schedule. Like Okada, every few pay per view matches, like he's phoning it in, and then boom, hold on, guys. Remember, I'm still one of the best wrestlers ever. I got it. I think this is one of those reminders. Like, hold on now, and I think Takeshita may bring it out of him. Like, you don't want to show Takeshita you don't want to show your junior that you can be had. So he brought a lot of that old school unstoppable Okada to this match, and like I said, I thought everybody performed really well. So
Yeah.
this is really good.
Yeah, really good. I mean, we knew Dorado would eat the pin, didn't we? But again, like I said, really impressive. And Gina, as Monty mentioned, Okada won't be able to go 50% versus Takeshita because Takeshita doesn't allow that because otherwise he'll get fucking destroyed. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. From what we saw with the G1 as well, you know that Takesha's bringing like 200%. So you're needing to be on the same wavelength, you know. But I don't think I can say much else to do this match justice. Just like my sister Monty said, it was a great match, a pay-per-view worthy match, and I just had so much fun watching it. And again, the same as with Dorada, I don't really know much about him as a wrestler, but I think he did enough to hold his own in this match and not be overshadowed by the other two, which everyone was clearly hyped for. I think everyone was like, oh shit, we better. I kept calling him mascara, like the makeup mascara. So I was like, oh, mascara's doing his thing. I really loved it. But I'm telling you now, guys, every time I hear that coin drop, I just start screaming, calm down, because of like the screams from Jax. I have to remind her she has
No, every
neighbors.
time. Every time. I know what the neighbors hate
You have
me.
neighbors, sis.
I
Like,
know, but I don't care. I can't not scream when the coin drops.
It happens. It
honestly,
happens.
guys, it's a real thing. But no, honestly, this match was great. I enjoyed it, and I liked all three men in the match. It just made the one-on-one brewing between Okada and Takeshita that much more hype.
Yeah, there was a couple of great spots in this match we spoke about. And little did we know at this point, we were 2.5 hours in, that we were only halfway through the show. Which, again, I don't think anybody's mentioned it All Out is fucking 5 hours. But
Oh my
speak of that in a minute. At this point, I was like, how long's left? We've
Yeah, I
only got
started
how many
fearing that at that
matches?
point. I started
I
fearing
know.
that at that point. I'm not gonna lie.
Fucking hell. Anyway, out of 5 then for this one. Jaxie, what would you give it?
I'm giving this 4.5.
Give it 4.5. Monty?
Yeah, you can call it triple threat bias, but screw it. I gave it 5 stars.
5. Gina?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it 4 3/4.
4 3/4. I'm going to give it a 4.5.
No, I want to change mine to 4 3/4 because I didn't know everyone's going really high. I thought I was being biased with Okada, but I'll go 4 3/4.
I only went 4.5, but not that you do anything I ever
No,
say
I
anyway.
don't. But I don't care about your choice.
How we get on after 5 years?
Biased, so I didn't do it. No, I want to go 4 3/4. I'm not going all the way, but just
All right.
4 3/4.
That's not what I had. Predictions. We all went Okada, all on 7. And then we got the 5th coffin match in AEW history. Saw Darby Allin, who has a perfect record with 3 wins with a stipulation, taking on Jon Moxley, who had never competed in one in AEW before. As Moxley was making his way through the crowd, Darby appeared out of nowhere and attacked him to get the match started. The risk taker immediately hit a big dive off the top of the doorway, leading out the arena. They fought further up into the crowd before making their way back to ringside area. Moxley started to bleed after having bit into his ear for several seconds. Yeah, that will do it. The rest of the Death Riders came out and helped for a bit, but Moxley eventually sent them away. He brought out one of the caskets in the ring and slammed it shut on Darby's hands. A few minutes later, Allin returned the favour and did it in both hands. Danielson handed Darby a duffel bag. Well, he didn't really hand it, did he? You know, just kind of passed it or put it on the floor, and Darby just picked it up, which contained the same kind of plastic bag Danielson was suffocated with. Darby used it to cover Moxley's head and then hit a code red, but then Pac made a surprising return with an even more surprising haircut and ended up throwing Darby over the top rope into one of the caskets with a powerbomb. He then put Allen in the casket and Moxie closed it to get the win. Wow. Monty, what were your thoughts on this?
You know, this one was good, man. I, 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 I don't know. Let me say it this way: it was a mixed bag for me. The match itself, I thought had good moments. I had higher expectations because, I mean, we all think about Darby and obviously who Mox is, and I think for the most, the intensity level, and I think the desperation of that Darby showcase really helped the match, and I think they did a good job of kind of leaning into that and being physical, of course. But I do think this is when this is for the sickos and everything AEW stands for kind of ruins it. And I'm not trying to say that this match was so much worse than Max and uh than Max and Briscoe, but what I will say is having them both on the same card and then having this match, this one felt light pretty much almost no matter what. So they kind of went to the extreme to kind of match it, and it's just like, well, okay, we already kind of had a hell of a death match or like beef, like very, very physical type match earlier. So what could you guys do in this coffin match? And they did what they could. I'm not gonna act like it was bad or anything. I thought they did really good. It was violent, and of course, with Darby, it's going to be violent. He's obviously into that. But the ending, uh, you know, I don't know how I feel about it. As much as that's the thing about it. I'm still days later, and I'm not really sure exactly how I feel about it. But I do think everything was good as far as I do think it was very shocking because it does make sense. And having Pac back is great. Don't get me wrong, I love it. But I do think to me, this was just it. It kind of led me to believe that okay, how much longer was Moxley's run supposed to go?
Mm.
Because if you think about Garcia's turn and you think about getting Pac back here, and uh and the fact that Hangman's winning when he won wasn't even the original plan, it had me really thinking that he had a lot left that he wanted to get out of this Death Rider storyline. The fans were already tired of it. So I think like imagine this if Mox still was the champ. Like I bet people probably wouldn't like you'd be happy to see Pac again, of course, but you'll still be like, oh my God, here we go again. But anyway, that's kind of like my thought process about it, where it was like it's great to see Pac, and I love it. It makes sense too. It's not like it doesn't make any perfect sense. And the hairstyle was weird. I'll let you guys kind of get on that because maybe you guys' hair fashion is completely different than over here. But yeah, I don't know. He's not the most flattering cut, but he's a bastard. I don't think he's really trying to look flattering. So maybe that's what it is. So yeah, man, it works. I do think everything is well executed. It's just part of me is like this was good, and I don't mind it. And they did a good job of still being intense, and then but having a completely different style of violent match than I thought Briscoe and Max. But Briscoe and Max's match, I thought, in my opinion, was more my taste. While this one was just felt like they were trying to hurt, just trying to be violent. While that one felt a little bit natural, but yeah, I guess it's different strokes for different folks. Kind of depending on your point of view on that. Uh, but I do think Pac's return helped this match out a lot for me because other than that, I just thought it was okay. But I don't know if having this continue because at the end of the day, I don't think Darby's gonna give up. Once all of this is over, when it comes to going after the Death Riders. So it's just like, how many more legs do we have for the Death Riders, and how many more legs do we have for Darby? And when will Darby stand over Moxley's body? Because he still has never beaten him, and we're still putting that off. And I just don't know when is the end goal for that ever going to happen, or is that was that even the point of this? Because that's kind of like what I left. I left with a lot of questions, and I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, Mox is 5-0 versus Darby, and I do find Moss less offensive without the world title, but we did see him reaching in his pockets. The commentary thought it was maybe a weapon, but it was just a blade that he was going to use, which again is a bit weird. But and again, Monty, you mock the haircut. I have that exact same haircut. All right, so I don't appreciate it. All right, that is a cool style. We're bringing it back, me and Pac.
So that explains a lot. See, like, even without even being over there, I'm on point. Because if James got it, I know it's not socially acceptable. Come on, Jaxie, like somebody help me. What the hell are you guys doing over there? If that's the hairstyle, that's the hairstyle now.
Monty, let me put this shit straight right now, okay? I'm questioning where the fuck that hairstyle came from. I I have no idea whether or not this is actually better or not for Pac. I love him as a wrestler, but I really don't know what type of hair would suit him. And it's like really hard.
Guys, let me answer this for you. The man's
Please.
hairline is receding and he's not ready to let go, okay? The best he could do was get a comb over. And he
Right.
could not do that with the straggly
But I
rags
think
that he
I
had.
think the straggly rags might actually work better, sis. I'm not gonna lie, because of like what I saw was what's his name? The main one with glasses from the In-Betweeners.
Oh crap, I can't remember his name. I want to
You
keep
know,
saying
his
it,
haircut.
loving
That's
him,
what
but
I
that
was thinking
super
of. You know, the
Not
the
Simon Bird, is
greasy
it? What's his name?
greasy high school boy look.
bad. Yeah, I
That's
know
all
what
I
you
could
mean now. I
that's
can't
all I could
unsee
think
that.
of. Yeah. So Monty,
I'm just glad I'm
no,
not the only one.
that's not a thing. Like I don't know where that hairstyle came from, but that is a Pac original. That is not UK born.
Okay, James.
Anyway,
So cut your hair,
well,
whatever you're doing.
look, I've
Yeah,
got a full head of
James.
hair,
Sort it
unlike Pac.
out,
All
James.
right. It was quite funny, Jackson. You did mention as well, Brian Danielson, and he did say "fuck that"
Mm,
on
mm.
commentary, which again adds something because obviously his history with Mox as well. You know, like I said,
Yeah,
it's nice.
yeah. You could tell that there is a certain anger to Danielson, especially when it comes to the Death Riders and everything that they stand for. But at the same time, you can't deny that Danielson's accuracy with, you know, the way that he talks about, like, you know, a wrestler's mindset, like right there and then, like calling sort of last minute moment shots, you know, when they're in a desperate moment. You can just tell that this is talking from years of experience, and it's just something quite refreshing. Um, so he really gave like a real refreshing vibe to the commentary team, especially for this match, but still gave a biased sort of view considering his hatred for the Death Riders. So it was interesting to see, because I feel like at certain times he was like at turmoil with himself, not necessarily like praising like them on like their wrestling caliber, but at the same time like discussing like you sort of like the enigmatic mind of a wrestler being in the moment right there and then making those sort of choice decisions and whatnot, you know. So I mean, overall I think he's been a brilliant asset to the overall All Out performance, especially considering how long it was. Like it was quite made a lot more bearable having sort of Danielson from someone who's watching from like, you know, sort of a camera side of things. Like having Danielson on commentary was very refreshing indeed.
Yeah. And the reason I went Moxley as well was just because I thought you needed a win back. Rick Darby needs to win the feud, but again, how long the feud goes on, I don't know. It's down to Tony in it. So, out of 5, then Monty, what would you give it?
Give it a 4.
Give it a 4. Gina,
Yeah, I'll give it a 4.
Jaxie.
I'm gonna give this a 3 3/4. Again, I think I have to go back to sort of like what Monty brought up with, like, if you thought like MJF and Mark Briscoe was like the only sort of like sickening match to watch, like having 2 on the card was a bit much, and like this really sort of ticks that as like gruesome, to the point where I just don't really enjoy this type of thing. Like the wrestling that comes out of it, because I'm too grossed out by the torturous gore that is also being put on portray. So yeah, I'm giving it 3 3/4.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 4 1/4 predictions. Jaxie and Monty went Derby. Gina and I went Mox. So it means Jaxie and Monty on 7, James and Gina on 8. Orange Cassidy is on his way back. We'll talk about that with Dynamite after All Out. We've We've got AEW Women's Championship, Toni Storm versus Tekla versus Jamie Hayter versus Chris Statlander. And Storm and Tekla paired up while Stat and Hayter fought, but those pairs didn't last long. It came down to Statlander and Hayter trading shots in the middle of the ring. All four women ended up fighting at ringside, and everyone took some big risks and even bigger bumps. They brought a lot of energy to the ring, made sure they kept the crowd's attention. Hayter and Storm have the most history between them, of course, and they did a good job addressing it without feeling the others were left out. What nobody expected was how this ended, with Statlander ended up using the seatbelt pinning combination to get the win over Toni Storm and become your new AEW Women's World Champion. Harley Cameron came out to celebrate with her friend. We were all shocked. Gina, what were your thoughts on this?
Yeah, shocked. Those are my thoughts. Just shocked. I did not see this outcome coming. Shout out to Toni Storm. I always love her costumes whenever she's, especially on a premium live event. I think her costumes are always brilliant, and she pulls them off great. And that it even made her loss, the costume that she had made her loss just even kind of more theatrical, because of her expression as well. But yeah, it was a great match. I think, all of them were showcased well. I will say that I was more interested in Tony, Jamie, and Chris than I was Thekla. I don't know if it's just because I haven't warmed as much to Thekla yet, because I haven't seen that much of her yet. That may come soon. But for me, the main three I was more focused on was Tony, Jamie, and Chris. I did think that, like, Chris, I didn't know whether I thought they just put her in this because she deserved to be in the premium live event, but I didn't exactly expect her to win it because she's just not been successful in any of her title attempts to get the main title. So for some reason, yeah, I really wasn't expecting it here. I thought it was going to be, Hayter taking it back for herself finally, or Storm just, still retaining over this one. So it was a nice surprise to see it. But I think all four women did well. They had to, follow on from the brutal match of Mox and Darby, and I feel like, they were able to still keep interest with the crowd because the crowd were still quite loud for them. I enjoyed seeing all four of them. I didn't expect that ending, but I'm really, really pleased for Chris because I do feel like she did deserve a title run at some point, so I'm happy for her to have it now.
Yeah, I think you're right about a couple of things. Statlander definitely does deserve it, and the placement did hurt the match as well. And Jaxie, I hate to say it, but you were right as well, because you mentioned a title change happening. I mean, you got the wrong match, but there was a title change. So I guess your thinking was right about that.
Yeah, I did see like a potential one happening. I just called it wrong, but I think Gina said quite a lot of valid points where, it's not like I didn't think that any of the women in this match didn't deserve a shot. So I don't think it would have hurt Tony either way. But I think Monty brought this up earlier in terms of, like, Tony's level of not only maybe pride might have gotten in the way of this, but also just maybe a little bit of like too much confidence in actually thinking that she could potentially come out at still retaining the title after these three strong women all were opposing her. And I think that the match itself was great, but I do also agree with you. I think that where this was placed in the match card, I would have put this personally before Jon Moxley and Darby Allin. Like, that to me took up a lot of attention, and probably took a lot of effort from the crowd, so their energy was much more dwindled by this point. So I do think placement on the match card hurt this match, but I can't say it took away from like all four women. I think they all did an amazing job. And again, just like my sister said about Thekla, I feel like after this match, I'm watching her a bit more now. It wasn't like I wasn't taking her seriously before, but I don't think I really cared much for her. But I think she won me over with like the level of wrestling that she gave in the ring, but also like being able to kind of stand out amongst the big names of Chris Statlander, Jamie Hayter, and Toni Storm, all three who are much loved throughout the AEW universe. I think Thekla held her own well. So personally, for me, I think the match went well. I don't think that the crowd were completely there for it. I think the energy had dwindled at this point.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Monty, we should mention as well what a run Tony Storm has had, and I'm sure the title will come back. I don't know if it'll be sooner rather than later, but like we said, it was an incredible run what Tony had.
She's the greatest character. Next to her and Hangman Page duking it out, in my opinion, like the greatest characters in AEW history. And I think she's by far the greatest women's champion. Even with all the great champions that we've had in the women's division, not only through her multiple reigns, like nobody has been able to kind of do so much really in so little, because she hasn't. It hasn't even really been as long as as you would assume it's been for Tony, and she's already, in my opinion, with Timeless, Tony has reached legend status to me. I don't really think she has to do much else, but I agree with you, James. I think she will most likely be getting the belt back at some point. Even though I don't think it needs to be anytime soon. Like, to be honest, she could finally take a break and like still wrestle and do her thing and beat Tony Storm. But I just, it does make me wonder what's next. And I do agree that was the narrative here of her, kind of like her overconfidence, maybe. That take on all comers confidence kind of got her, and she kind of got surprised. I do think she at least got to have a one-on-one match with Statlander at some point, because of the way this finished. Because even though it was a legitimate finish, she didn't get cheated. It was, using a Wheeler Uters type of like roll up deal to kind of get it. So it wasn't like a decisive victory. So they will have to rectify that, I'm assuming, at some point. But Tony's legacy is, in my opinion, as is she's done it. Like, she's already solidified. Everything else is just icing on top. And what else? What else can she do? Who else can she make a star out of? Like, that's where I think she's at now. And I do think, even though I do think she will probably be world champion again, but looking at this match overall, like you mentioned with Tekla, I thought that's why she was in this match. Tekla was in this match to get people who may not be paying close attention to her outside of, her battles with Queen Aminata, to pay more attention to her, to look at her as a title threat. And I think that's what you need when you're trying to build superstars. I think oftentimes, especially like we talk about it when we talk about WWE or we talk about other companies, even with Kyle Fletcher's involvement, I know this probably was meant for Wardlow, but even with his TNT title run, giving him TV time with Hangman, giving Tekla a spot with these names who we all hold in high regard in the AEW women's division, is only going to make them go out. Like, if you put them in the position and they perform well, it's only going to help them and make people pay attention to them more and get them more credibility going forward. So when they do get another shot down the line, you will seriously be like, oh no, Tekla might win this, or even Chris, who, like you mentioned earlier, lost plenty of these opportunities and was able to finally get over the hump. I think what helps this match is the fact that we all know how deserving Chris is and how good she is, because we do have to be honest, Johnny. This is one of the all-time great runs, and having it end like that is a little bit like, really? You know what I mean? It's like it's deflating. But I do give them props for doing it, because oftentimes in wrestling, some they're afraid to do anything like this, and I give AEW their props for at least trying to do something completely different, because nobody expected it. But that don't mean you don't need to try it, or that don't mean you don't do it sometimes. Because then every time you do a fatal four way, we expect the champion to retain. Every time you do a triple threat, we expect this to happen. So every now and then it's good, and it's even better when it's somebody we know is deserving is the one that's picking it up. Because I don't think the title is going to fall off a cliff with Statlander. If anything, you could tell even more interesting stories that you can probably at present with Tony, with Chris Statlander, because she has her toes in so many other things, and she has such a great history with so many characters in AEW, being an original pretty much like she is. So congrats to Stat. Like, I think we all were happy for her, you know what I mean? But I do believe that Tony losing like this is very, very shocking. And I I believe it, if it doesn't go to someone like a Statlander, you probably would be looking at this like, what are we doing? But I do think they did. It was well executed enough, and I think with Statlander, you have so many ways you can go that I don't think you can look at this and be too negative about it either.
Mm. Well, it's a couple of things. And again, I don't want to go as long as the AW show did, but when we talk about the connection with the Death Riders and of course Chris Statlander and how Statlander using, like we talk about with the Utah's pin to kind of get the win and what connections she's got there, and also the other thing about Tony Storm, which made her run kind of legendary, which we didn't get, was a kind of main event matchup at a pay-per-view. And I
Right.
feel even with All Out, with no offense to Fletcher and Hangman, but I think this would have been the perfect time for the women to actually get a main event, considering it's not a marquee match, shall we say. Never get me wrong, Fletcher and Hangman is big, but Tony Storm could have been that bit bigger. Anyway, moving on. Out of 5 for this matchup, Gina, what would you give it?
Sorry, I was on mute. I will give this a 4.25.
Yeah, 4.25. Jaxie?
Yeah, I'll give it a 4.25 as well.
Monty?
My score might come off as kind of harsh, but I'm gonna do 3-3. But it's mostly due to this being so short. I don't think it's their fault, but the next match is gonna be 20-something minutes, and the next match after that was like 40. So it's like this is the second shortest match of the night, and it was a long call. I wish they all was short, but that's my point. Like I wish they all were a little shorter, but to have this match only a few minutes longer than Eddie Kingston's match, like when you got Tony Storm and then she loses, I forgot to say this earlier. Like, come on now, like really, like this match had to be one of the shorter matches of the night. I don't like that, but it is what it is. So I'm giving 3-3.
Yeah, I'm going to give it 4.25. Predictions, we all went Storm. So Gina and James on 9, Monty and Jaxie on 8. As the tag titles were up for grabs in a 4-way ladder match with Brodido defending against the Bucks, Jet Speed, and the Don Callis family, which was Alexander and Henchicero, who took control early thanks to some solid teamwork. Didn't take them long to clear the ring, but Jet Speed cut the momentum with some fast-paced offense. The Bucks and the Callis family formed a temporary alliance that eventually fell apart when Nick and Matt tried to win behind their backs. After several close calls, Brodido pulled down the titles to retain. And that wasn't it. Jack Perry returned after the match and attacked the Young Bucks. We then saw a video of him being the one to wake up Luchasaurus, who was in the ring when the lights came back on. He chokeslammed both Bucks, throwing away his killswitch belt and hugging his former tag team partner. Tarzan Boy began playing in the arena as the crowd sang along with it, and everything was all right in the world. All right, Jack, so a lot to cover there. But first off, the matchup itself was kind of crazy, and you probably have to watch it for justice rather than, listening.
Yeah, there was so much happening. It was really difficult to kind of like keep up, like in terms of like just the pacing. The pacing was incredible, but it just like was a lot to take in. Again, with mixing in not only a ladder but just 4 teams is always going to be hectic. But there were just great moments from each tag team. Like you have to give each of them credit, like that they deserved to be part of this match with the caliber of wrestling. It was almost like the audience woke up at this point too, kind of getting over like sort of like whatever sort of slump that they were in. So like this definitely went hard, I was very much frustrated. I thought that this was where the title change would be, and to be honest, with good reason. Like, the amount of like effort the Young Bucks like took to really try and get that win. Like they spared no expense on like how dirty their tactics were, but yet it's still to no avail, thanks to like everyone else and Jack Perry involved in as well. Just from what's like kind of like what happened after, I just want to touch on it. This was a good feel good moment, but this to me would have actually worked better because right now Luchasaurus has always still been known to be kill switch and still with like Kip Sabian and what's his name, Nick Wayne.
Nick Wayne.
Yeah. So this would have made so much more sense for maybe Jungle Boy to come out and be calling out someone like Nick Wayne, and then him just smiling up at Nick Wayne, and then having that switch, like for kill switch to become Luchasaurus. Do you know what I mean? I think that maybe that's just me with like thinking of dramatic sort of stories that could be told within wrestling, but I think that would have worked better and didn't necessarily need to be the Young Bucks that Jack Perry did that with. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but don't forget what the Bucks did to Jack Bina, kicking him out the Elite and kind of all this stuff. And also, I thought it was quite cool because we did see Kill Switch come back to life last month, didn't we?
That is very true. That is very
But
true.
Jack
So
Perry
I
doing
suppose
it.
like both like that
It could
there
have worked, though.
would
Could
be
have
room
worked
to
it.
argue both could have like been the main factor, but I suppose like the Young Bucks would have been more dramatic because of like the star status that they have compared to like Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian. So it would have made more sense on that aspect, I suppose. But it would have just made more sense for the fact that at that moment in time, like Luchasaurus had still been part of that faction. So we just haven't really seen a breakup yet of Killswitch leaving that faction, which I hope, you know, we're gonna see like sort of cleared up in the next few Dynamites or Collisions or whatnot, you know, and it like see him fully break away from that faction to be back with Jack Perry. So overall though, I'm very excited to see where things go from here from Jack Perry, because I don't think he can ever go back to being known as Jungle Boy. Like he's definitely much more of a man than when he first was in AEW. Like he's come back a complete different persona, and I don't think he should fully get rid of that sort of. The best way that I could describe like Jack Perry when he first came back with that heel turn up was very much like a low key type of situation. And so I don't want him to lose. Like you even saw that grin that he had when he was about to get BTE triggered. I don't want him to lose that mischief that he's got behind that smile, you know. So I don't really feel like the persona of Jungle Boy would work. But I do think Jack Perry and Luchasaurus can be a thing, you know. I don't think he needs to go back to the Jungle Boy name. So that's what I'm hoping doesn't get brought back, even if they're going to stick with this music. More than happy for that, just not the Jungle Boy name. I don't think that really suits his persona anymore.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Monty, when it comes to ladder matches, obviously there's a few things that annoy me. The one in this match was Brody hanging onto the ladder with Bandito on it. That was just stupid, man. Just why would you do that? Just let go. You know what I mean? Or get him out of harm's way. Do something.
Wow, your petty never ceases to amaze me. But no, I understand what you're saying. I'm probably gonna sound even worse because like I was tired watching this, but it wasn't just because I was tired. I think at this point, I just need these matches to be a little bit more rarer than they are. But I do think this was a good sign for the tag division. I think you guys mentioned it earlier with the setup to this, and I think this match's result, and then even what kind of what we got afterwards. And then you think about FTR, you think about CNC and all that. So, I think we have a really good basis for a good tag division going forward. It's nice that they probably was listening to us that we've been kind of shitting on their tag division for months now, and they finally starting to load it back up a little bit with some good competition, and I think this was a great showcase for it. But I have a problem with this match, mostly because not because it wasn't good or wasn't fun. It's just because at this point you can tell there wasn't nothing done in this match that I have not seen before, and I don't want them to try to do something I haven't seen before because it is a lot of matches dangerous. You don't want anybody to get hurt. I don't think they all have to be. That's why I think the solution would be that even in WWE or even between promotions, we just need less of these matches so they can all stick out a little bit more. And I can't just think, oh, I just saw that one last month. Oh, that's a nice version of that move I saw in this ladder match I watched 3 weeks ago. Like that's where I felt like as I was watching some of the stuff. But I don't. But that's just me. And like I said, maybe I watch too much wrestling, and then I'm just kind of getting jaded in general at this point. But I will give, everybody props. I thought everybody wrestled really well. The angle after the match, they kind of mentioned it on there, and this is why I think it's funny. It's like you guys assume everybody watches. You gotta. It's like they sometimes they book like everybody watch BTE because if you watch the behind the elite and the extra stuff that the young bucks do on their YouTube, they haven't been answering Jack's call. Like Jack's been trying to call them and get in touch with them ever since they basically ever since they kind of got ever since Swerve and Osprey kind of
Hmm.
ousted them.
I
Yeah,
didn't
Jack
know
has
that.
been trying to reach him. Yeah, exactly. So Jack, they've been ignoring Jack this whole time, and that's my point. You wouldn't know that because the show don't TV don't mention watch BTE or TV don't show BTE. So they playing this angle off, and
They
then like you
really should have
mentioned,
add like highlights or something like that, just to add more context.
exactly. And then Nick Wayne, the only reason why we even got Luchasaurus early, in my opinion, I think they used the Jack Perry thing to kind of clean that up. I think Luchasaurus was always supposed to come back with Jack, but because Nick got hurt, they needed Jack Lucha Source
Mm.
for that match, if you know what I'm, for that first CNC match. So I think that's kind of how it happened. And so to kind of tie that up, they just they added Jack to the original Frankenstein cutscene to kind of give to make it seem like Jack was always the one doing it to kind of tie that up. And then he threw off the kill switch, which means he's no longer associated, I guess. And I'm not saying they're not going to do more with Nick Wayne, but I'm just saying I think that's what they wanted us to get from all of that we saw was that, no. You see what I'm saying? You see how all this
Yeah,
stuff they
yeah,
just
yeah.
hoping that you're aware enough or you watch so much of their content that you know what's coming. So I think that's why the ending was kind of confusing, maybe for some, but for me as I watched it, I was like, oh, okay, I guess it all okay, I see what they're trying to do here. I don't mind Jurassic Express going back, but it's just kind of like the thing is, I'm just worried, and this is I'm gonna say this, and this they could end up being awesome. It's kind of like what we mentioned with the acclaim. I didn't mind Max's what Max Caster was doing outside the acclaim. It was funny to me. I didn't think he was gonna have much of a like upward mobility with that gimmick, but I did think it was good. Obviously, Bowens kind of floundered as a babyface, but pushing them back together, now you got to do something different because we already knew why the acclaim kind of fell apart. People got tired of it. So they're gonna have to do something different. And I think the same thing kind of goes with Jurassic Express. Even though I do think people are excited, if you don't do anything unique or like you mentioned, have those wrinkles for Jack Perry's character, have some type of evolution for them, then I'm worried that we're just circling back around to the same spot. Even like it's a couple. It's like if I can criticize Wardlow for feeling like he's just starting over and in the same position as somebody flunky all over again, then I feel like when you break up a team, you're by yourself, and then we do this thing to where we're right back at it. What's going to be different this time is the only thing I ask about pairing them back together. I don't mind it though because I get it, but you do have to ask the question like, did you guys never come up with anything unique for Jack to do on his own? Did you not think that would work? Same thing with Luchasaurus. Like, did you not come up with anything for them to do like outside of each other, or do your brain just be like, oh, they probably just best fit back? Are we giving up and we just putting them back together? Like those are the questions I ask, and maybe that's because I'm cynical, but that's just kind of how I looked at it. But this was still good. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Jet Speed were murdered, but they did have quite cool gear with Sonic and Tails, so I did like that. And Gina, it seems weird as well because AEW have delivered a few pay-per-view moments recently. You know, I know it's all about the wrestling, we're the best wrestle, but there have been moments of returns and stuff like this that, like I said, has given us hope for the future as well. You know.
Definitely. I definitely felt Jack Perry's been missed on the roster, especially with the Young Bucks sort of, and their story arcs. You kind of had to think to yourself, well, where's Jack Perry in all this, etc. And again, before you guys explained on like, there's stuff that's been said on BET I didn't know. So again, because they don't showcase stuff like that, you don't get to see that people are still like, relevant to the actual program but are just not being showcased at the moment. So it's always nice. I wasn't expecting this return from Jungle Boy, and I was really happy to see him back. And I thought, oh shit, yeah, things are going to get more interesting now, So it definitely, he was definitely missed off of the screen, and he'll definitely bring a dynamic. But it's sometimes nice when you do get these shockworthy moments.
Right. So out of five, then we're going to score it. Jaxie, what would you give this match?
Um, I'll give it a 4.25.
4.25. Monty.
Yeah, 4.25.
4.25. And Gina.
Same 4.25.
I'm going to give this a 4.5 predictions. Girls went for Bucks. The boys went for Brodido. So Jaxie's on 8, Gina Monty on 9, and I'm on 10. Darby was shown busting out a casket and attacking Moxley with a pipe for the main event took place. He put Mox in a body bag and lit it on fire. Members of the crew put it out fast and dragged Allen away. I mean, this is AEW, so what do you expect, you know? Anyway, the main event of All Out saw Hangman defend the men's world title against the Proto Star. There was a stipulation put in place, like we said, if Fletcher cheats or anyone interferes, he'll be stripped of the TNT title. The opponents came together in the middle of the ring and talked a little trash before going for the first lockup. And once the fight was out of the ring, Fletcher used a chair to hit a big dive over the barricade to take Hangman down. It may have done more damage to him because Page was the first to his feet. For the next several minutes, it was Cole seeming to have the upper hand more often than not. Hangman kept finding ways to get bursts of offense, but it felt like Fletcher had control for longer periods of time. Cole hit a brainbuster, put Page through the timekeeper's table, but both men were down for a long time afterwards. When they got back in the ring, Fletcher hit 2 running kicks, followed by another brainbuster, but he couldn't get the win. A few moments later, Hangman put Fletcher through a different table with Deadeye. The bump looked nasty for Fletcher, but was able to continue. They continued to fight for several more minutes, trading several near falls. Hangman appeared to have nothing left as a confident Fletcher stood over, no sold his strikes, but Hangman was able to hit his Deadeye for the middle rope for nailing a buckshot lariat for the pin and the win. Monty, like me explaining the matchup, this was long.
40 damn minutes on a 5-hour card. Oh my God. Like, I get it, man. Like, I get it. Like, all I have to say is, and I'm not saying you couldn't love this because they absolutely wrestled their asses off, but goddamn, people hate, like, looking back, it's a lot of revisionist history. I think people were told for a long time that Shawn and Brett's Iron Man match was great, and then they look back at it and it's like, yo, they rest holes by 30 minutes out of the hour that they were in. They were just, they weren't doing much. So, like, yeah, and I'm not saying they did this because I think this is the opposite of that. Like, they just packed in a bunch of action into like 40 minutes. So it was incredible. It was an incredible 40 minutes, but it doesn't change the fact that this was 40 minutes of like, it is like, to me, this is just me. And again, I have no problem sounding like the old man shouting at my AW weirdo kids who love watching this stuff. How many times do I gotta watch a spot and be like, dang, he almost killed that guy? But we have 15 more minutes to the that's my biggest, that's the only complaint I have about this man. I think they wrestled great. I think Kyle Fletcher is obviously a superstar. Him and Hangman showed great chemistry together. They were physical. It's just like you mentioned, James, like one part of the match where it's like, oh, Hangman ain't got nothing left, and Fletcher's overconfident, and he still had at least 5 to 10 minutes left of offense left in him, and he was able to do 2 of his finishes again after that. It's just like, you know, like, am I being too critical? Am I looking at this too wrong, or am I just like again? Am I jaded? Do I watch too much wrestling? I don't know what the answer is, but I will be lying if I told you this wasn't a good to really good match. It was a great competition. I love that. I love that what we got out of both guys, and I think both guys won. Both guys. I mean, Fletcher definitely wins, in my opinion, in the long run because his stock only rises. And I think if you didn't think he was a future world champion, I don't see how you can look at this and not see it now. But it was 40 damn minutes in a 5-hour show. Come on. Can we not do 25? Can we not just do 25, 20, maybe?
I think you need matches in the UK because at least with the O2 they had a cut-off time. Do you know what I mean? So that was only 4.5 hours, but all in was 6 hours, I think, and now this was 5. And again, I'm sure a part of it was because WrestlePalooza had started at midnight. You know, because again, this UK time it started at 8 and I think finished at 1, which is again is just incredible. I know it's value for money and shit, but like Jesus Christ, you know.
Yeah.
Gina, what I will ask you is the TBS and TNA, the TBS and TNT champs have come up short against the world champions. Is that just Tony say that there's your place? Even though I know Fletcher wasn't meant for the match, but it seems that way right now, doesn't it? You know?
It does a little bit, yeah. It's probably trying to, emphasize the fact that, the main two belts are the most prestigious. And even though it's great having the TNT and the TBS belts, you're still not on that same, level as the main champions here. So I suppose that's what they're trying to say here. But it's like, are these types of matches damaging to those who currently hold those TNT and TBS belts? You do sometimes sit there and think about that, but it was still a great match. I just agree with Monty. It was just a bit too long. I was yawning a lot by the time this match had come along, and it's not because I was bored and that the match wasn't entertaining. I was just tired.
Yeah, wow, that's how. And Jaxie, again, let's talk about this match. Long Fletcher stepped up and all this lot. And what I kind of thought was Hangman needs worthy challengers now. Do you know what I mean? We need
Yeah.
people, not for him to lose the title, but again, a bit like with Mercedes Moné, to be like, oh, this is a threat. Because no offense to
Yeah.
Fletcher, there was no point in that 40 minutes where I was like, oh, he's going to do it.
Yeah, I think I don't really have much to add in terms of like what's already been said. I do think that uh regardless as to whether he gave it a good match and a good as a good opponent for Hangman, I don't feel like this main event needed to be 40 minutes. I actually agree with your statement that I do feel like even though this match was great, I felt like Tony and Chris could have the Tony Storms match could have ended it with Chris picking up the win there. So like I would have just like kind of done things differently, and I would have given more time to that match, as Monty also rightly pointed out, because
Yeah.
that match deserved to have a lot more going for them when they have 4 women involved, and this was 2 men involved in this match. And again, as you said, like Kyle Fletcher is just not entirely right there yet. He's in sort of TNT sort of division, but he's not yet on that high caliber. So to give it 40 minutes only for Hangman to retain is not a disappointment, but it did drag. And I know it was just to counteract WrestlePalooza, but stop doing this to us fans, because all you're going to do is make us resent your pay-per-views and
Yeah.
wonder whether or not it's worth waiting until the next day to actually watch it, you know?
Yeah. Well,
But
to be
I'm
to be fair, no, I completely agree because it takes me 2 days to watch it. Do you know what
no,
I mean?
it
Or
really does. It really
yeah, like
does.
literally.
Especially when you count in time difference, it might not always be that for most people, but again, especially the UK, we very much are always behind you guys. So, that prevents us being on social media, that like we have to catch up with it then when it's especially things, that happen during the week, that's even more of a bitch. So like just putting on that like extra length just to actually like take a dig at WWE does nothing for us who are fans of both. So just
Yeah.
keep us in mind for next time.
Yeah, we're
You
just
know?
getting fucked. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So out of 5, then Monty, what would you give it?
I give it 4 3/4. But I will say this: I didn't even want to look at Brock Lesnar and John Cena after this. God,
No,
imagine
Jesus
trying to watch
Christ.
them right. Imagine trying to watch them right after each other like I did. This was
No.
insane. But yeah, four
Oh
and three
my god,
quarters.
that would drive me insane. I could not have just finished All Out and then jumped straight into WrestlePalooza. I think that would have killed me.
That's literally wrestling torture. Like, do you know what I mean? They'll sit people down and just torture them with back to back like that. So 4 3/4. Gina, what would you give it?
Um, yeah, I'll give it a 3 3/4.
3 3/4. And Jaxie?
I'm gonna give this a 4 1/4.
4 1/4. So yeah, I'm going to give it 4 3/4. After that, predictions. You all went Hangman. So the final scores: Jaxie on 9, Monty Gina on 10, and James on 11. My first AEW win this year. Come on, come
Yeah.
on.
After you rightly like pointed out, you somehow made one mistake
You
with the Big
know I
Bill
went
thing.
Eddie over Big Bill. Come on, there is no
No, I saw the
way.
Big Bill
Yeah,
message
well,
come
I find it
through.
very
To
So
be fair,
convenient
you
that
really
you
went
needed
Bill,
that
but
win to
yeah,
actually get
we.
a win. So I'm just saying it's very convenient. Okay.
Oh
Oh, thanks,
God,
guys.
what did they
Thanks,
do?
guys. I
But
appreciate the support.
My professionalism is going down because the school I went to is playing like shit. But anyway,
You think that's bad? I had the Spurs game on in the background here. Weren't any better. Anyway, stopping our Prediction League 2025 after All Out and WrestlePalooza. Bonus League obviously stays the same. So does WWE. But AEW, Jaxie and James on 1 now. Gina on 2, Monty on 4. Gina, I'm coming for you at Wrestle Dream. You know that. The streak begins right now. So overall, then, Gina, I'll start with you. Overall, what is your match of the night, your MVP, and your rating out of 10, please? Trying to see
Oh
your match.
God. Okay. The match of the night is going to be the triple threat with Okada and Takeshita and Mascara. The rating out of 10, I'm gonna go with 7, just because I think it was just overly long. If you're including the 0 hour matches or whatever, the collision matches, sorry, it just doesn't need to be that long. I'm gonna give my VIP to Chris Stat for finally getting the belt, because she's been chasing that belt for a long ass time. So, she's finally got it, and I'm happy for her.
Without doubt. Jaxie?
Yeah, match of the night is definitely the triple threat for me. I'm also gonna have to go Chris Stat on this, because she really surprised me, but like in a good way, with picking up the win here. Uh, I'll give it a 7 3/4 overall. I do think time really built it down, and I also feel like half of these matches really were Dynamite or Collision worthy matches. They didn't need to be on the match card. It really was just added just to further piss off WWE. So like, I just felt like I had to take it down a little bit of a notch just for the pettiness of them just adding matches just cause.
Yeah, right down. And Monty?
with them scores, I can't wait to see what the WrestlePalooza score is because I'm gonna shit on that one. But anyway, I give this one a 8. This is a good show,
It's gonna
or at
be
least an 8 and a
interesting.
quarter. Yeah, I thought this was a good show overall. It was long, and it definitely was long. But to be fair to them, All Out happens at least. At least we know All Out has somewhat of a legacy. WrestlePalooza was just pulled out somebody's ass to fuck with AEW. To be fair, so Tony doing a long show was a little bit towards WWE, of course, but I do think Tony just likes long shows. This is also what he does. It's kind of like how much of this is about WWE and how much is him just being a psychopath who books 25 match cards. Like I don't know how to weigh that. But other than that, I thought everybody did well. Chris Statlander is definitely MVP. I do think she had like the crowning achievement moment, one of the best moments of the night easily. But I do think you guys are right. Most of this stuff didn't really advance a lot. Like a lot of these matches felt like, okay, well, we're probably going to continue this feud or we're setting something else up. It wasn't a lot of blow offs or a lot of just things that seemed settled here. That's probably a big minus I would give this PLE too. But other than that, I thought it was still a really good show.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good show. MVP is stat match main event, and I'm going to give it 8 3/4 because, like I said, it's 5 hours long. But I'm trying to think of it the other way. Of if you're just a die-hard AEW fan, then this is all you got, and I suppose it is
Right.
value
I
for
know they love
money.
it.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I said, the hours put in for like the Dynamite Go Home 0 hour Collision, All Out, and Dynamite is 11 hours. Do you know what I mean? So again, when you add the WWE to it, with probably about 10 and a half, then you're looking at a whole day catching up on 2 events, which is just fucking mental. But anyway, it's too much even for the most die-hard fan. We're going to go into the last thing, which was Dynamite and Brodido defend against Gates of Agony in a fun opener. Hangman defended his world title versus Lee Moriarty. And Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler were Stokely halfway apologised for their actions. Willow Nightingale arrived to call Beth Copeland one of her inspirations, demanding they apologise. Willow slapped Stokely. Yeah, I mean, how badass was Willow at this point, Jax?
She had so much balls to get in the ring with all of them and call them out and actually be like, no, if you're going to do an apology, do it right. I loved that whole moment, and just even the little part after with Jet Speed coming out just to back her up. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, no, I thought it was really, really good. as well. Elsewhere, Cope is going home to his family. Don Callis tried to unveil his latest family painting, but Orange Cassidy returned, broke him through it, and he teamed with Hologram and Mark Briscoe to beat Henchicero, Okada, and Takeshita. Of course, Henchicero was the one getting pinned, and Carl Fletcher interrupted and said he'll put his TNT title against Hologram, threatening his perfect winning streak. But of course, Hologram's been threatened with Monty. I don't even know what it would be, but like an evil virus, shall we say, at this moment in time. I think I can't even, the guy's name or whatever, but yeah, that'd be fair. Yeah, yeah.
I think that's what it is. I have nothing to add.
You're there just to back me up, mate. Don't worry. Claudio beat after the meat match after Mojo ran in with the Death Riders. Hangman and Page arrived to send Moxley, Garcia, Wheeler, Yuta, and Claudio running. We got Tony Khan announcing the introduction of the AEW World Tag Team Championships, which Rene Paquette unveiled at ringside. And Gina, I mean, we mentioned this, I think, in the last AEW show, and they have announced the titles now. The titles look good, but again, they need to book this division better than they have others, shall we say.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm super pleased to hear that they got these women's tag belts now, because I'm excited to think about the tournament they're going to have with all the women's roster that they've got, and they've got plenty of them to put in there. So I do feel like it's quite a fun time for the women's division, but let's just hope it's done right and they're not like sidelined or forgotten about and just become irrelevant belts. I just really hope that doesn't happen.
No, without doubt. Mina took on Chris Statlander with the AEW Women's title on the line. The champion won with another seatbelt pin for the victory. Afterwards, the Death Riders arrived. Moxley was last to arrive and seemed pleased until Stat laid out with a Yuta with a clothesline. Stat and then Hardy Cameron ran into the crowd before Stat threw up the double birds. And again, Jax, it's nice to see some development, because like Willow and Statlander kind of showing where they stand at this moment in time,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was gonna be very stereotypical. You got Hardy Cameron, who is much loved by the crowd, just coming out. She's been a constant supporter in Chris Stat's corner, and all of a sudden you're seeing Chris Statlander hugging Utah, and I was like, great, here's where she turns heel, here's where she takes out Hardy. Everyone feels sorry for Hardy, and Chris solidifies her turn. I fucking loved that she flipped John Moxley the birds. She went out with Marina Shafir. Now I want that one-on-one. Mm-hmm. And then they both ran into the crowd and she just continued to flip them off. That was perfect, because if it was something that I was not expecting, I was expecting them to do the expected and they didn't, So this was a great way of just flipping the psychology of actually thinking or believing so much about a wrestler, because I kind of didn't know which way Chris would go. She could have gone either way, but I actually was incredibly pleased to see that she stuck with Hardy Cameron, got her ass out of there, but also didn't really show that much fear when getting in Moxie's face like that. So, leave her alone. She's not actually approached you at all. You've got no reason to be constantly stalking her out like this, apart from the fact that she is now the champion and you just want some sort of belt tied to the Death Riders faction. Drop it. She didn't want nothing to do with you. But I just love this. I can't wait to see maybe things like heat up between Marina Shafir and Chris Stat. And I say it like that because Marina's not really done much apart from just be an enforcer within the Death Riders faction, it's about time that we got to see her unleashed in the ring again. She always looks so formidable outside of the ring, you don't want her getting involved in matches, so let her loose in the ring. And to be honest, I think Marina Shafir versus Chris Statlander would be an excellent way to sort of showcase or remind people what Marina can do in the ring.
Yeah, without a doubt, really good stuff. And Monty, this being AEW, of course, Darby Allin and arrived with a flamethrower, sending the whole group running and challenging Mox to an I Quit match. So it's going to get more extreme. I reckon we're going to see one of these on fire. And didn't Moxley recover quickly for being set on fire at All Out as well?
I was just going to say, at this point, just flat out murder. I don't see how this feud can end without just it's already gone. We've already been an attempted murder, guys. So I know that sounds weird. We'll be saying that, but at this point, where how much further can you go? Seriously. I ask that all the time with Darby, and the only level you could go is something none of us wants to see. So so yeah, that is where we're going logically. I guess Darby should win that one, right? Right? We expect him to win that one, huh? I don't know. But yes, this is AEW. So attempted murder is normal.
I
Yeah.
certainly hope that Darby wins this. I don't need to see another match after this I Quit match, especially because if I can only imagine what both Mox and Darby, who both have death wishes, who both seem to get off on torture and
They're
pain
into
on
this.
themselves. Like, I don't know what they're going to put themselves through in this I Quit match, but I don't need to see another one-on-one match between these two again after this match. I'm already dreading it.
I can't wait for the flamethrower and a pole match. That's gonna be fucking brilliant. Anyway, so to to finish it, to finish us off, Gina, what are your thoughts on AEW this month? Like I said, we've covered a lot of ground, it seems, on this episode. We're only a couple of weeks away now, it seems, from the next AEW show as well. But what are your thoughts on this time?
I mean, I'm looking forward to what is to come, especially with the, returns, new belt wins, new belt announcements, etc. that we've had. So it's really setting up a lot of, new storylines to come over the next few months over the Christmas break as well. And hopefully we're going to get a great women's tournament with these new tag belts. And I'm trying to be hopeful, especially with, Jungle Boy returning, for example, not Jungle Boy, sorry, Jack Perry returning. I think, Penelope and Megan Bain need to be pushed a lot at the forefront of this tag title run. I agree with my sister about Penelope kind of always eating pins. I think she needs to be actually more formidable to make her and Megan look just that much better. But all in all, I do feel like they've got some plans for what to do with everyone going forward, and I hope that it all just pays off.
Yeah, without a doubt. So that is it. Just a shout out to Ian Villarreal as well, who's been a great follower throughout times and he deserves a shout out. But that is it for today. Don't forget, we're across all social media, X at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNR Pod James. You can find the entire WNR team on the banner. Jaxie, where can people find and follow you?
Yep, I'm on X, Instagram, and Twitch at Jaxie Scarlett.
Monty?
You can find me at my Monty Pod or losing my mind because LSU sucks.
At least you're not watching the Ryder Cup, mate. And of course, Gina.
I'm on X, Twitch, and Instagram at Purple Pain.
Double also on Facebook and Instagram. Send us an email at doubleRpodcast@gmail.com and on YouTube, the Double R Podcast, where we're celebrating 10 years with the Double R with shorts, universe mode, and clips from the event. We have just passed 750,000 views and added 500 subscribers since the anniversary show. So big thank you for everybody listening, liking, following, subscribing, whatever you do. We hope you enjoy it. And of course, the podcast is live on YouTube and also SoundCloud on your phone, also Spotify and iTunes, where you can download, subscribe, rate, and review there. So that is it. Our next episode is WrestlePalooza, and I can't fucking wait. Until then, I've been James Rowlands, and I was joined by the fantastic Jaxie Scarlett. Happy anniversary, Jax. 5 years,
Thank you so much. 5 years, and it took 5 hours of wrestling to watch to get through. But yeah, it's been a great one. I am very much looking forward to hearing thoughts and opinions on WrestlePalooza. So watch out, guys, because that's probably going to be more explosive than this episode. So watch that space.
It's going to be rough. And of course, the mind of Monty again. Monty, thank you for joining me. I know you'll have a break soon, I promise. All right. It's just a lot of wrestling.
I'm in the house of torture, so I can handle the wrestling. What I can't handle is my college getting that. All right, go to the next person.
And of course, the genius of Gina. Gina, again, well, I mean, I know you're a little bit of a late bloomer, and I won't forget your anniversary in a couple of months. I just want to say that just because I made a thing of Jaxie doesn't mean I forgot about you.
It's okay. I feel like the baby of the family. I'll get the biggest celebration when my time comes.
Yes. You will get a
song every week.
Well, we have to share everything. We have to share birthdays and everything like that. So why not get her own anniversary, I suppose?
Yay!
Exactly. And there will be a song. There will be a song. Anyway, that